All right, hello YouTube. Welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. It's been a minute here. 3 weeks
Yeah.
since our last episode. I don't know why it always throws me off when we are that far between episodes. It feels like forever. But yeah, getting ready to get back on the horse, and we have a normal way between this and the next episode, but then we got the double header after that. So yeah, welcome to June, and yeah, let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own Palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the Palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, and the extended Stephen King universe, because all things serve the tower, right?
Serve the bean.
And I am Tad.
And I'm Peter, and I hate what you put in the chat.
And if you're an eagle-eyed viewer on the YouTube side, I did have the title wrong in the video. I sort of got I'd updated it to say 164, but midway through the thing, I was like, oh, that's wrong, so I just edited it. See, the great thing about doing it on, the way we're doing it live stream versus the old days, I would never have been able to fix it. So, yeah, and then in the chat, definitely throwing in some fun stuff there.
No. We're not even going to talk about it. Move on.
A snake emoji.
No.
A spraying water emoji. And a witch emoji.
Disgusting.
We all know what that reference is, of course.
You're the worst.
Let's go ahead and jump on into the intro stuff real quick. First of all, I want to warn you about spoilers. This is a roundtable, so we can spoil and will spoil freely of the entire Dark Tower series. If you've not finished the series, you may want to stick to our book club episodes. With those ones, we stay where we're at or before. We don't jump ahead. We have a very, very small spoiler section of those at the very end, but you are warned quite a bit before we get into that. And it's usually like less than 1% of the last chunk of the episode. So those are your place to be if you have not finished the last book of the Dark Tower series. Then if you want to find the show, you can find us on Apple Podcasting. You can stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or any traditional podcasting service of your choice. You can subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those. We'd appreciate that. You know what I should say is you can find us wherever fine podcasts are sold. Is that the line they used to use about things? I always loved that back in the day, because even as a kid, I kind of saw through that. I'm like, okay, so if you don't carry their product, they're implying that you're a shitty company.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's great. It's clever. Then if you want to find us for the live stream side, you can do that over here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. We've been live streaming for quite a while now. If you want to join us live, like that, we have a couple people in the chat so far. You could do that over here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. You can also find all the old live streams going all the way back to the first ones we ever did. And you can find all the videos and all that kind of stuff there. If you want to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, we'd appreciate that. That helps the lightning teeth avoidance, so Blaine doesn't get us with his blue fire. And then also on the YouTube side, I think we always tend to forget to mention, if you're watching in the future, you can always comment stuff in the video as well. Let us know your your thoughts, even if you're not here with us live. And then if you want to find the show notes, you can find that at darktowerpalaver.com. Everything we're covering in today's episode I'll have linked over there, so you can go read the full articles and all that kind of stuff. If you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. We just had our hangout yesterday. We both of us rewatched Cujo.
Sure did.
For the first time in a long, long time for me anyway. You probably have quite a while for you too.
About the same amount of time. I think I rewatched it like once, maybe a few years after my first watch, but I haven't watched it since then.
Yeah, so we did that. We did the monthly hangout for that, as well as you get access to our Discord server. I had to think of the word there. Discord server, so you could chat with us all the time. In fact, it was made obvious in the Discord this morning that it is Flag Day. So happy Randall Flag Day to everyone.
Here in America, it is.
Flag is applicable everywhere.
No.
So
The holiday Flag Day is to represent flags.
Nah, they
like the things you run up a flag pole and flag.
They just
not two G's.
They just misspelled it. It's a typo there. So
yeah, mistypo back in 1777.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Or maybe Flag gained a G over time because we know he's been around for a long time.
He just added a G because he's the original G or something. Is that what you're going with?
Indeed. So happy Randall Flag Day to everyone that celebrates. It's a glorious thing. And then so that is the Patreon stuff. And then if you want to contact the show, if you want to send us your Irmont thoughts or your Flag Day, remembering Flag and all of his great deeds, you can send that over a number of ways that Peter can let you know.
You can email us. It's show@darktowerpalaver.com, and then check out our threads and Instagram. It's darktowerpalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then we do have our Blue Sky. It's at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. And then we have our Twitter. It's at darktowerpod. That's at darktowerpod. And then we're also on Facebook. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And then check out our merch. It's available at tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver. Go pick yourself up a hashtag Tad is Terrible sticker, shirt, hat, mouse pad.
Or you can get the real logo.
You can just stop saying that. It's not the real logo. Like, you have to accept that this is the real logo.
No, it's on the screen.
That right there? Right there?
Yeah, where it says Dark Tower Palaver.
Hashtag Tad is Terrible above it. Yeah, it's still the real logo. It's not a fake logo.
Slanderous.
It's not slander. It's been proven. It's like fact. It's like science.
I will tease the one thing I said yesterday with the Cujo thing. At the very beginning, the boy's all scared about the monster in his closet. I said, if I were the dad, I would have said, no, he moved from the closet under your bed. Then I would have closed the door and
locked him in.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I would have done. I guess some might say it's good that I don't have children, but
so you did say, can we talk about the Hangout for just about 2 minutes?
I mean, maybe.
So you were I'm not going to say complaining. Tad had a legit argument that the cover of Cujo is horrendous.
Oh, dreadful.
It's terrible.
On digital. I mean, the original poster is great, but yeah.
The original poster with the blue background and everything like that with the red writing, that one's good. But the white, for some reason the white makes it look funny, right? I think I figured out why. You got that pulled up?
No, I'm looking up Cujo just to see. Let's see, movie.
If you just type in Cujo and go to images, it's the second one for me.
Okay.
Where it's the white, says Stephen King's Cujo.
Oh no, that one's not bad.
That one's
the dog looks terrible.
No. Do you think that's like a fake dog or something like that?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Why does it look funny?
It just looks bad.
I think I figured out why it looks funny. I don't think that's a St. Bernard.
So it's not a beast?
So in the trivia, I didn't bring this up yesterday because I don't like reading just trivia. But in the trivia, I did notice that at one point they used a Rottweiler for some scenes. Tell me that doesn't look like a Rottweiler's face.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
I think that's a Rottweiler painted to look like a St. Bernard.
The whole thing just looks like terrible
off.
CG.
It looks off, right?
Yeah.
But I think maybe that's what it is that it's that.
Yeah, it's not good. People just need to stick with the classic posters and quit putting really shitty Photoshop stuff on their stuff. So
anyway,
let's see. And then, I guess we could just also mention that we are here a week later than we normally would be, and that'll carry over to the next episode. The next episode is not a week from today like it would normally be. It has also been delayed a week, so this whole month is kind of askew.
Yeah.
So that is the release schedule. And then I'm trying to think.
We just need to start taking the month of June off. It's like every year we have something going
No, it's
on.
not always June. There's always some shenanigans during the summer, but that's just kind of normal with vacations and all that kind of stuff. So,
family
but it does move.
whatnot.
I think at one point, we've had Augusts where we've moved things around.
That's true.
It's usually in the summer. I think we even warn people up front. Usually there's some shenanigans afoot in the summer. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the news, which there is plenty. Let's see. The first one here is Mike Flanagan gives promising update on Dark Tower series adaptation. And this is by Megan Navarro from Bloody Disgusting on June 3rd, 2025. So there's obviously been plenty of Flanagan interviews as he's been doing the press tours for Life of Chuck, which is, I believe, now this weekend out wide and broad. It should be. It had a limited release last week, and it is fully released now, I believe, the way it sounds. I actually was unaware of that until maybe like a week or so ago. I think as we were approaching the release date, because it was originally May 30th, and then they moved it back a week. And it was only as we approached like within a few days of the new release date that I started to see. I think even King had a tweet where he was like mentioning that like, hey, here's the limited release this week, and then this next week is the full release. I'm like, that was the first time I'd ever heard that. So I was fully expecting a wide release. Also, I'm a little bit annoyed that our home base theater has had a poster up for it for months, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be screening it. So that's pretty annoying.
Yeah.
But Flanagan is on the interview trail the last probably since our last episode, about in the last month, doing a lot of press tours and stuff for Life of Chuck. The article mentions that he's obviously busy. He has Life of Chuck that's now releasing, The Exorcist on the horizon, and then Carrie adding to the cast, which more on that later. Then they ask the question that we were all wondering, what is up with the Dark Tower? I have a quote from Mr. Flanagan here. He says, it's not that I've put it down. It's just that the thing is so big. It's like building an oil tanker. Flanagan told Comic Book in a chat. We've been moving it forward this whole time. It's just how big it is. It's constantly in the works, and you better believe as often as you guys may want to ask me about it, Stephen King is asking me about it more, and I'm not going to let him down.
Yes.
So, like most of that we've heard already. I mean, except for that very tail end there, to know that King is checking in on him with it.
King wants it done, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. And then, who can blame him? Really?
I mean, yeah.
And also it's funny because we covered it I don't even know how long ago now. Where I think it was when he was talking about so Life of Chuck originally, he had got the rights to Dark Tower. He wanted the rights to Chuck, and King's like, I don't know, I usually don't give more than one thing of rights to someone, but obviously he ended up giving it to him because of like some I don't remember if it was his move after Netflix that would have basically reset everything down to zero. So he's like that, and then like the strikes were upcoming, and like all that stuff King allowed him to do it, and I think that's ultimately maybe why King's kind of checking on him, because obviously he's seeing the same thing we're seeing. Flanagan is a very busy person, so yeah. That is what he said here. So it's a small update. Not a ton new here, but I do find it really funny to just think that, like, what is King texting him or calling him every so often and being like, "Hey, what's going on there?"
You still working on it?
Although I will say, we probably know full well that King knows more than we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
I mean, he's read it. Like he's sat down with Flanagan and gone over it and been like, "Hey, this is good."
Yeah,
he said that. So.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of like we've speculated over the a while that there might just be like even like a penciled agreement in place for something, and it's just a matter of timing before something gets announced. Like if something like that were to be a reality, you know full well that King knows all about it. Whereas we don't. So, the only other thing I wanted to really mention about that, though, is in the intervening week since our last episode or our last roundtable, Amazon did cancel Wheel of Time. And I do want to, point out the pessimistic side of me, is that's the danger of television is, we could even see this get greenlit and get going, and then it may not ever finish.
Yeah.
So that's always the scary and sad things, because Wheel of Time has been doing pretty well. Viewership wise, it's not necessarily been a train wreck. Also, that it was a little bit rough to start, but it's like really started to get good. But ultimately, it comes down to Amazon. There's a lot of things going. They just allegedly spent $1 billion to make the Broccoli family go fuck themselves with the Bond stuff. Obviously, they've invested nearly $1 billion in Lord of the Rings that they're still doing. So those kind of realities come to play at a certain point when like something like Wheel of Time, if it's not blowing the fucking doors off, like it gets canceled, even though it's doing well. It's got a healthy viewing, but it's not like Stranger Things crazy, like changing the pop culture zeitgeist. But it was pulling numbers, but like still, it's an expensive thing. It's pulling numbers, but not enough to justify its continued existence. That's just a scary thing that we've got to. And I remember saying that way back in the day when the film was announced early on in the podcast, it's like at least with a film, you may not be guaranteed multiple films, but you're at least guaranteed a film that you'll get done. Whereas, like, I mean, God forbid, that doesn't really happen much anymore, but it's been known where TV shows sometimes get canceled mid-season. That's the old TV model, though. I don't know that streamers have ever really done that.
I think that's the big thing that's changed from television to streaming is that it's not, okay, let's release our first episode and be working on our 16th of 22.
Exactly.
You know, they're not canceled mid-season anymore because
Most of it's already done.
They finished the season
Yeah.
before they release it.
Before it's released,
Or maybe there's one or two things they got to redo
Post-production.
in episode 9, 10, or 12. You
Yeah,
know,
post-production, but
and
that's
everything.
that's cheap. That's like,
Yeah.
okay, you put all the money into like building a car from the ground up. Like post-production's like the paint job.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to stop and go, well, we don't want to spend another dime, so let's just throw this entire thing out. No, you're going to finish
throw it in the car compactor and it's done.
no,
you
you're
know?
going to finish the paint because like literally that's one of the not to say post-production is the cheapest part, but you've already done most of the work already, so you're whatever. But you're correct. Whereas in the old days, a lot of times by the time of the first episode's airing, they might still be filming episode 6 or 7. I mean, well, back in the old days when they had 20-something
22,
episodes.
yeah, exactly. That's where I'm saying it's like
yeah.
maybe it's episode 16, 17 that they're filming because I know that I've watched shows and I'm like, she got a haircut. She got a haircut, and I'm like, it kind of makes sense when you're filming over a year and a half stretch to make this season that yes, people are going to get haircuts, people are going to have accidents, and that's why that guy's in a sling, and that kind of stuff. That doesn't really happen that much with streaming. You don't see that as often, and I know a lot of people are like, well, I can't believe that they're like taking so long to put this out. It's like, yeah, because they're doing all of it before releasing it.
To an extent,
I will say, I understand the argument where it's like
3 or so years between seasons is nonsense.
Why is it 3 years for me to get 8 episodes? It's like, I understand where you're coming from, but it is also 8 episodes that are not, Seinfeld. It's not on a stage that's repeatable every single time.
No.
We are filming on locations. We are bringing actors and the entire crew to Montreal, to Los Angeles, to New York, to Miami. You film on location. I mean, you look at something like especially something like Game of Thrones comes to mind. England, Africa, Asia,
for
Europe.
Sure. But Game of Thrones came out every year.
No, it had gaps, didn't it?
No.
I thought it did.
I mean, if it did, it was
House of Dragons does.
Yeah, that one.
We haven't had a new season for House of Dragons for what, 2 years now?
No, the last season was like last year.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was 24.
That's when I watched it, so it was right when that season wrapped up. So
yeah, no. So Game of Thrones. I mean, but all I'm saying is like all that's true, but I do think there's some people that are taking advantage of it a little bit because there are some that's like there's just no earthly way that it should take as long as it's taking for some of these shows to come out with seasons. So and then also Heil Carol joining us in the chat. She says Uncle Stevie wants to be alive to see it completed. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, but no, that's I'm glad to hear that because like I don't know. I guess we don't fully know what King's like. What it looks like for King. Like we've had a lot of stuff over the years where we've seen bits and pieces. We've seen that a lot of filmmakers will bring their scripts to him. They'll get sign-offs. There will be conversations. He's not, whatever, but it's not like checking up to like, hey, what's going on here? What's going on? Like that's kind of a new wrinkle to this whole thing of how we view.
I also think that Flanagan and King's relationship is more dynamic than anyone else, except for maybe Darabont.
Yeah.
Like other people making King things, it's like, business partner kind of thing.
Yeah.
I definitely get the feeling that Flanagan and Darabont are not business partners to King. They're more than that.
They're more friendly
to me. Also, another thought that I just had is that maybe Flanagan is the reason that Dark Tower didn't move forward when he first signed with Amazon. Because they had The Wheel of Time, and they had Lord of the Rings, they have The Boys, and they have Fallout. All 4 of those Boys ongoing, but Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, and Fallout, all of those started around the same time.
Yeah.
Within a year or so of each other.
Yeah, they had some.
Maybe it was just a little too cluttered for another fantasy-esque series.
Probably.
He probably looked at that lineup and went, of those 5, if you add Dark Tower to those 4, of those 5, if they need to cut one, which one are they going to cut?
Yeah.
Well, probably the one that cost the least to obtain. All the others we invested more in. So
Yeah.
I wonder, Flanagan's a smart dude. It would not surprise me if Flanagan went, I still got to work on it. We'll
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
We'll wait. And now that Wheel of Time's getting the axe,
Yeah.
maybe it's the right time to fill that void.
Well, the other thing too is there's like an ebb and flow.
Yeah.
There's times that like the streamers and whatever the networks. I mean, not networks. That's the wrong word. That's the old terms. But, like
Providers,
the
yeah.
the studios and stuff. There's ebbs and flows. There's times that they're spending like drunken sailors. And there's other times they're tightening their belt. And like
Yes.
right now we're in a belt tightening for a lot of the studios right now, which is why things like Wheel of Time are getting canceled and stuff. So it's like now would be the absolute worst time to be trying to sell something like Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it is unproven. It's going to be expensive. So this is like probably not necessarily the best.
It's also
time.
not as, let's be perfectly honest, it's not necessarily as popular as either Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, or Fallout. Because all three of those have established, like bigger side of
I
them.
would challenge Wheel of Time. I think Dark Tower is in the same vein as that.
Yeah, you're right. Dark Tower and Wheel of Time are about the same.
Yeah.
They're fantasy books. They've never had adaptations and everything like
Yeah,
that.
there's
but Fallout and Lord of the Rings, let's be perfectly honest, Fallout has 5 video games and Lord of the Rings has been established for Jesus so closer to a century than not.
Yeah, indeed. There was a joke of that in one of the Marvel movies. There was like a Hobbit reference, and Bucky gets it. He's like, yeah,
Bucky's like, yeah, I listened to him read it once at a bookstore or something like that.
Yeah, something along the lines. Of, yeah,
it's Thunderbolts, isn't it?
Is it? I
think it's Thunderbolts with Bucky.
I always found it funny because it's fun
or
to
maybe
remember.
it's Captain America: Brave New World.
Yeah, it's fun to remember that that was
he was a lot. I got a first edition, something like that.
Yeah. Indeed. So yeah, that's the only other thing I wanted to bring up is just the Wheel of Time thing that to be patient. I think the other thing is there's been some pessimism online I've been seeing in some areas where people are starting to question has the Dark Tower been canceled and all this kind of stuff. Of course, I always say the same thing, no, just be patient. We're kind of, again, I think he's used, this time he says building an oil tanker. Other times you heard him say it's turning an oil tanker or starting an oil tanker.
Yeah.
He's always using those images of very large things. This isn't a thing a race car that's, that's going to jump off the line and get to, 80 miles an hour in 10 seconds or less.
Yeah, this isn't a Fast and the Furious movie.
No, exactly. This is going to take time to build up. So I'm always telling people don't be pessimistic. Just because you're not hearing anything for an extended period of time doesn't mean that it's dead or canceled or whatever else. So so a little bit of an update from Flanagan there, which is always welcomed and appreciated for sure. Carol says oil tankers must really suck. Yeah, dude, the one that trips me out is the first time I ever went and saw the ocean was seeing a I don't know what you call them, the freight boats.
Yeah,
they have those big, hundreds or thousands of those shipping containers.
The Connex containers.
Those giant things. Because I saw it out in the distance and it looked like a Hot Wheels car to me. And I realized what I was looking at, and then I realized I've seen those containers and how big they are and how small that looked in the distance.
It's got four stacked high, 12 across, 6 rows deep.
Yeah.
On its deck, not to mention what's down inside of it.
Yeah.
And you're like, and it looks this big.
And it looks so tiny, and that's where it, suddenly that helped me get the scale of the ocean, because it's easy to just look at it and be like, well, I've seen lakes where it's you can't see the other side, so it's how is this any different? And that was the only thing that truly allowed my brain to truly know, because of course there's the book smarty that knows oh, that's the Pacific Ocean, that's the biggest battleground in human history right there. That's Japan on the other side of that. That it's crazy stuff, but it's that's detached from reality.
Yep.
But to see that in the distance was oh my god, that's
I had the same kind of moment when I was about 15. We went to San Francisco on a vacation, and same thing. I'd always seen the boats out in the ocean, the times I've seen the ocean, but I'd never been close to a dock.
Yeah.
An incoming location. And San Francisco Bay is a huge one coming under the Golden Gate. Golden Gate Bridge also, you don't realize how big that is,
Yeah.
So when I saw one of those boats up close going under the Golden Gate Bridge, you're just like, good Lord, I'm tiny.
Yeah.
I'm 6'1", but
yeah.
Good Lord, I'm small. Holy cow.
Yeah, Roland has that feeling.
Yeah.
With Flag, right? With the showing the cosmos and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
How insignificant he is.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the next one. And this was let's see, a few days later. The headline is, "It can't be what's in the book. Mike Flanagan details how closely the Dark Tower will follow Stephen King's novels." This is by Zach Bowen from Screen Rant on June 6th, 2025. So Flanagan is recently on the King cast. So there's something that y'all might want to put a marker on and maybe go listen to. It's mostly about Life of Chuck, but kind of publicizing it and stuff. But obviously, Kingcast is a great show, and they always ask great questions. And Flanagan being on there is a can't miss. I feel like up till this one now, because I've been overloaded. My whole podcasting has been like, my queue is overwhelmed because I haven't been listening to podcasts a lot recently. Never Flinch, and then ever since Never Flinch, I've really been listening to music for some reason. So ultimately, my podcast thing right now is just like, it's like I don't even know what my inbox looks like right now for
there's
podcasts.
a backlog.
Yes, but this will be high on the list because ultimately I've listened to every other Flanagan one until this one now, and they're always just gems. Like, the dude's a legit constant reader, obviously, and it's always interesting to hear his take on things. So maybe tomorrow, we're going to see the movie tomorrow. Maybe after the movie, I'll go listen to it. Not that I'm worried about a spoiler, because it's literally like him trying to hype the movie up. So there's probably nothing said in there that'll spoil it. Not that I haven't read the book anyway, for God's sake. But maybe I'll listen to it tomorrow after that. So, and that's the other thing too. Sadly, because our home theater didn't have it, and then the fact that it didn't seem like a lot of theaters near us got it last week for the limited release, so we haven't seen it yet. It's been pretty busy for me. There's been a lot going on, and I've yet to have the opportunity to go see it. But we've got to go see it though, because I think I was telling you the other day at lunch, like, what worries me is this isn't like a giant, Universal Pictures film. This is an independent film. It's being distributed by Neon, and with as busy as the theatrical schedule is this year, I have a fear this is going to be here and gone very quickly, and it'll be on our streaming services before you know it.
Yeah.
And so, God forbid, I'm not able to see it on the big screen. So I can't wait for that tomorrow.
Which we have to see it on the big screen.
Absolutely.
Tad will not see it.
We'll lose our Stephen King fan cards if we were to miss it all the way to stream. For us, anyway. Because we're doing a show here. What kind of respectability would we have if we weren't able to see it in theaters? I mean, come on. What would we be?
We would have to hang our heads in shame.
We will have forgotten the face of our fathers.
Exactly.
And Cy King. So I'm crediting this article for transcribing this portion about the Dark Tower. So what I listed above was Screen Rant. They're the ones that grabbed the transcript on this, because, again, I haven't listened to it. So before we get to the quotes, he does say that Flanagan stressed how many rights issues he'll be dealing with adapting the series. So the first bit of Flanagan's quote here, he says, Randall Flagg, you have to. And I think he's talking about things you need. And, of course, on Flag Day, we have to, of course, tip our hat to
the second most evil character in all of King's works.
Let's go ahead and give Mr. Flagg.
No.
He said, and then he goes on and says, you have to get into Father Callahan, like, that's not negotiable, which means that you're going to Warner Brothers, because they've got Salem's Lot. You've got to talk to them. Crimson King is actually a whole different thing, because there's a history of adaptations with Hearts and Atlantis, which pulls all sorts of stuff. Yeah, which pulls all sorts of stuff based on that deal that shouldn't have been pulled in, because he's not actually in that movie. Low Men in Yellow Coats, also, you got to go to Warner Brothers, because when they optioned the story, that was also included, whether they put them in the movie or not.
Damn.
So there's that sort of stuff, and that's the first part of his quote here. So
that makes when you look at just those three examples alone, you can kind of understand why Flanagan maybe has taken his time with this series. Is that there's a lot to maneuver around.
Yes.
And especially if this is indeed an oil tanker. They're not the most maneuverable of ships,
No. Neither was the Titanic.
No, obviously.
Couldn't turn very fast.
No.
Pausing this to say this reminds me of Marvel stuff over the years. We would find out about some larger character technically belonged to Studio X, because technically the first comic book appearance of the character is comic book Y, which Studio X has the rights to, even though the character is far bigger in in comic W, but they've showed up the first time in this other comic, so it's like the rights belong there. And despite the fact that maybe the character is even so big that they're like across multiple comics, but it's like, well, their first appearance was in.
Yeah, Cable's first appearance was technically in a I'm not saying this is true, but Cable's first appearance was technically in a Deadpool, so therefore he can't be in a MCU movie because he's a part of the Fox deal.
Yeah, so this
crap
is
like that.
This is what's kind of reminding me of, and honestly, I've never thought about that till he mentioned that. But the Crimson King, his first appearance is Hearts in Atlantis.
Yeah.
Or Insomnia, maybe. Did he say? He
said Hearts in Atlantis.
Crimson King is actually a whole different thing because there's a history of adaptation with Hearts in Atlantis, which pulls also. Yeah. So I mean, either way though, because we've talked about that when we covered Hearts in Atlantis for our Patreon year or so back, 2 years ago maybe, where we were like looking at the fact that Hearts in Atlantis came out in 2001, and it's like so there were certain aspects in that we almost take for granted as Dark Tower like readers that came in the latter 3 books of the series. The Hearts in Atlantis tipped the hand a little bit, and it's like, wait a minute. So like, there's shit that King was like brewing in his head, because the other thing we dug into is the fact that King had largely written Hearts in Atlantis before the accident. It came out in 2001, but it was basically done. He wrote a good chunk of it in '99 before the accident anyway. I mean, maybe probably earlier '99, even late '98, and then after he recovered from the accident, he had to get like the final bits put together and then like massage it, edit it, and then get it released, which took all the way till 2001. Yeah. So that like threw us through a loop because it's like, wait a minute, because there was all this shit in there that you just almost take for granted. Where it's like, oh yeah, the last 3 Dark Tower books are already out, but it's like, oh no, they weren't, and not only that, he may not have even started writing them when he wrote Hearts in Atlantis. So it's just a weird thing again where, Flanagan's alluding to the similar thing like we were talking with like Marvel back in the day is like, if Crimson King's first appearance ever was in Hearts in Atlantis, that means that that's owned by Warner Brothers. So
it's not the Crimson King's first appearance. He's in Insomnia. He's referenced all the time in Insomnia.
What was Insomnia's date?
94. I just looked it up.
Okay, but that one's I wonder if the rights are out there for that one, even though it's never been made.
Yeah, no. For movie rights, no, but it just in King's zeitgeist
doesn't mean that somebody doesn't own Insomnia rights. So that's what I'm saying.
And
like
it's
isn't
the Crimson King referenced in book 3? Because I mean,
in terms of the actual saying Crimson King, though, I don't know.
I mean, he's in.
There's allusions to like the eye and stuff throughout earlier books.
Isn't he in the Stand? Doesn't Bango Skank say "All hail the Crimson King" in one of his things with the evil eye? Isn't that one of his graffitos?
I don't think so.
I thought it was.
No. All right. So then going on with Flanagan here as he goes on, he says, I'm aiming for something. It can't be what's in the book. It's not logistically possible. And I think that the cinematic audience, they're not going to pick up on Insomnia the way that constant readers are. What you need from that is a character with psychic ability who is going to be brought in as one of the breakers. And it's going to be really important how you deal with that. What are other characters in the King universe that could fulfill that role and get fans excited, even though you're changing it? And then he goes on and says, for me, it's I like to say, what about Abra Stone? Well, that's a interesting thing. When you
we wondered about that because like
he's alluded to potentially having to swap characters previously.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I think he's actually mentioned Abra as a possibility, though.
Yeah.
He says when you go into what if you can't get Father Callahan, which is always a thing that comes up, and I think that we can. So let's just fixate on the fact that he does interject that there.
He has a good relationship with Warner Brothers.
Yeah, he does think he's going to be able to get he thinks he'll be able to get Callahan. But if you can't, well, who can fill that role? Who's a character that's presumed dead in another King story who can come into this story and have a similar arc of redemption?
Oh.
Do you go Dick Halloran? I'm just saying, what do you do here? So,
okay.
That's a very interesting thing. I feel we've actually speculated on this in the past, and I think we've actually mentioned Abra, even though I think this is the first time he's mentioned it. But when he's mentioned, like, hey, maybe you can't get a certain character, so you got to, flip him in and out. Both of us, I think, brought up the idea of Abra because that's literally a Flanagan adaptation that did that. So it's like that would almost be a no-brainer. Also, he mentions Dick, but I would say, what about Dan for the Callahan role if you couldn't get Callahan?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Dan is much better. Tell me that you couldn't tell most of Callahan's story through Dan anyway with his alcoholism and stuff. I mean, literally the only thing you're losing is the priest. But what if he ends up being like a helper to the community in a way, but he's using like AA, and he doesn't know the Bible much, but he's almost like adapting AA things to the higher power, and he's kind of being that like clergyist, but he's not a full-on priest. But it's like, and you end up finding that he's just kind of faking it with like AA, like, well, the higher power, and like, because there's a lot of crossover with AA and like not a specific religion, but AA is all about there has to be a higher power and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I was gonna say is that AA does hand in hand with religion,
but not anything specific.
Not anything specific.
But wouldn't that be funny to see?
Whatever God you deal with,
like ascribe to,
you need to make it right with them as well and pray and everything like that. Because like Dan is his sponsor is super religious, isn't he? In Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you saying your prayers, and stuff like that, if
Yeah.
I remember right. So it's like, okay, I could see that.
But how funny would that be if he's literally just like kind of being a preacher, but then when you actually go in, he's literally just using like AA, like all of it's through the paradigm of AA. Like there is higher power talk and stuff.
I got a better one for you. What if he uses his knowledge of like literature and stuff like that from his dad and becomes a teacher?
Yeah.
What if instead of a church, what if it's a schoolhouse? You've had this under your classroom with your kids this whole time?
Yeah.
That's just as disturbing as having it inside of a church, if not more, because children, and everything.
Yeah.
I did look it up. The first reference of the Crimson King by name in the Dark Tower series is Wizard and Glass. I don't know if we've gotten there yet. I'm wondering if maybe it's when Roland goes into the pink ball.
Could be. Yeah. So then, that's kind of interesting. Then Flanagan goes on and says, "How do you make it so that King fans will lean forward and be excited about all this be excited about this particular change, but that people who haven't read the books and are being introduced to this connected universe will be able to recognize it from their cinematic experiences."
Yeah.
That's part of what makes this thing so goddamn hard to do. So I'm glad that Flanagan is thinking this way. I know there are purists who think that shit has to be 1-to-1, but that's simply not possible. Even if there were no rights issues at all, there's film and book are very different forms of art, and they're just never going to be 1-to-1. And the people that are like piss and moan about it all the time are just unrealistic. Like
I've said that before. Yeah,
they just are. But the other thing that's kind of funny is ultimately it's wild about this is like this is pretty much the only King property that would have this kind of issue, right? Like in terms of like the rights issues, like Marvel dealt with it a lot because like Marvel's very interconnected and shit.
And
but
they
it's like
sold a lot of their stuff,
and
to
they
other
sold
companies.
it all. They piecemealed it out to a bunch of different companies, and so it's just kind of interesting that it's like of all the King things you would ever need to adapt, the Dark Tower is probably the hardest because it's the only one that is that broadly dabbling in other works, most of the other shit is self-contained. It is it, like even if there's references to other stuff, like it's all minor, like none of it's like, oh my god, we can't make it because
Maturin is in it,
or it mentions Castle Rock and god that belongs to, like, no, there's just that wouldn't matter, like it's not that important.
No.
But like Dark Tower,
you could change it from Castle Rock to Bangor.
But with Dark Tower, it's a wholly unique thing in the King universe, with kind of being this difficult.
Especially since your like main antagonist for 7 books until the end of the 7th book is Randall Flagg.
Yeah.
Who literally comes from a different IP. So it's like, God damn it, King.
I think the good thing there though is that he's used so many names that I think you can get around it without
you just do Richard Fannin.
You just don't call him Flagg. I mean, Fannin. I mean, Martin is what he's called through a good chunk of the books here.
Just call him RF.
Walter.
Yeah.
I mean, there's any number of names that like
Walter
I mean,
O'Dim.
Yeah. I mean, they did use that in the movie now, so I don't know if that like belongs to Sony, but like either way, Flagg is a man of many names, so like it's not like you're that hard up.
I mean, we could just rename him and call him Tad. I mean,
you honor me, sir.
Tomato, tomato. Evil. It works.
Lovable character.
Hashtag Tad is Flagg.
Mr. Flagg. That's he's a lovable character.
No.
And then Flanagan finishes up here. Most of those decisions don't have to play into the first couple of seasons. Luckily, the gift of the Dark Tower is if you do it right and you start at the beginning, you're dealing with one character following another character in a barren wasteland where there's not even a structure to distract you. It's one person following another person. It's very simple, and everything is added on top of that. And then he goes on and says, and it's added at the right cadence, that you're meeting new characters and the world is expanding. So by the time you're arguing about what to do with Father Callahan and to what extent the Emerald City is going to come into play, by then you've already built enough of this that the audience is with you, whether they're familiar with the source material or not. That's what makes this so goddamn challenging to do. So just, again, putting a button on the fact that he is ultimately talking about this is very, very difficult. So, which makes total sense. But I've never thought about the character rights in the way of like the Marvel thing, but it really makes sense. Like, yeah, when you've got all this shit piecemealed out, like, it's...
Well, we've talked, the only one we've really ever talked about is Father Callahan. Because it's like, man, that's owned by Warner Brothers. So we know where that is. It just had a movie come out. Salem Block came out this year and everything.
Dan belongs to Warner Brothers. It really feels to me like Warner Brothers might be the heaviest owner.
Obstacle.
like they're the biggest owner. And the good thing is that Flanagan's worked with them. So, there may be a friendly nature there, So when he says, like, I'm not as worried about Father Callahan, it's like, okay, so if it ends up being where you have to plug in Abra instead of, Dinky or whoever else, whoever you need to swap out, like, you literally, it's like, hey, can I use a character from my movie that I made for you? That should probably be an easy ask, I would guess. But I don't know. So that's again, recommend the King Cast. I think it's one of the latest episodes that has Flanagan. It's I think Flanagan and Life of Chuck are kind of in the title there. So go check that out.
June 6th episode. It says The Life of Chuck with Mike Flanagan.
Yes. So
honestly, check out their episode 3 days ago. Karen Gillian and Tom Hiddleston on The Life of Chuck is also their newest episode. So I would recommend both of those.
Yes.
Holy shit, the episode before that is Matthew Lillard talks The Life of Chuck and Stephen King. So the last 3 episodes of the King Cast is pretty stacked.
Which, makes sense because 1, Neon knows they need to, market this. And 2, they know who their audience is. And 3, like, King Cast, what more of an obvious place to market than,
exactly.
Like that, that podcast.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that is that one. Let's see what I got next here. Next up, we got some more Flanagan. But now we're transitioning to Carrie.
Okay.
With Flanagan. So Mike Flanagan on how studios would have ruined Life of Chuck, which I actually am not covering that part of the article, but it's the headline. Stephen King notes and why he first said no to the Carrie series.
Oh.
So, and this is by William Earl from Variety on June 6, 2025. So this is a Q&A interview. I'm mostly grabbing the non-Chuck stuff, but there's one that kind of overlaps here. So the first question that I'm covering here, Stephen King has spoken in the past about wanting to keep a church and state separation with filmmakers adapting his work, but you have a relationship with him after adapting so many of his materials, and he's raved about this project and others you've done. What does your interactions look like for a project like Chuck? And then Flanagan goes on here with a pretty extensive answer. He says he's been like that with me as well. He is very serious that the book is the book and the movie is the movie, and he doesn't want to influence your creative expression of that. I think that that's a double-edged sword. If he doesn't like what you did, and you're going to know it, and the world will know it. Ask Stanley Kubrick. But he's always kept quite the distance from the creative process. He gets full approval on all castings, which that I didn't know.
Oh,
that's an interesting nugget that we've never known before. He's reading the scripts and sending his thoughts. If he has an idea or suggestion, it's only happened 2 or 3 times, but he puts it right out there. But mostly he backs off, and then we talk extensively about it after the fact. So that's kind of interesting. I think, and he goes on and says, I think the most involved conversations were around Dr. Sleep. I think that that one had landmines in it for him. So that's where you could tell from the very beginning he trusted me enough. I had done Gerald's Game, which he liked, but at the same time, I was stepping into a lot of fraught history with him. So there was, which we all know, of course, the reasoning, because we've discussed that in the past, where it's like Flanagan had to come to him with that script going, Steve, before I give this to you, just know that, like, this does take into account Kubrick's movie. And King's like, that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
That's his initial impression. Of course, he ended up winning him over by, I think we've been confirmed that it was the Jack Torrance scene is the thing that won him over. And he goes on and says, so there was more involved conversation about specifics of that. By the time we got to Life of Chuck, I think he was very much like You Do You, and he loved the movie. So then he goes on and says, but we're doing a Carrie series right now. And that's the one where the conversation started when Amazon proposed the show, and I initially thought why it's been done, and then I found an answer to that question, and it made me very excited. But when I went to Steve, his answer was why. So King had the same thought.
Yeah.
His first response was, "Leave her alone. She's been through enough."
Yeah.
So that's
he says that about Carrie, but after everything he's put Jake through, that son of a bitch.
So clearly he loves Carrie and hates Jake Chambers.
Apparently.
One thing let's be clear about, though. He did spare Jake losing Oi. Can you imagine if he had done that to Jake? If he had took Oi first, Can you imagine? I mean, oh, Jake's a gunslinger. I know Jake would have soldiered through, but that would have probably been harder to watch than watching Oi mourn Jake.
I mean,
and that was hard too. I'm not saying that's not, but if we would have had to have seen Jake, because the child in him would have come through there. You would have seen weeping. You would have seen just absolute.
I wonder if it would have been.
Desolation.
I wonder if it would have been the opposite. I wonder if the adult shows and the anger and everything like that, because we've seen the anger from Jake a couple times.
Yeah.
I wonder, especially if he's there with the confrontation with Mordred, and Mordred kills Oi. I wonder if Jake just goes full fucking Roland and just massacres.
Yeah, but
Mordred,
we would have got sorrow at some point.
Afterwards,
Yeah.
anger comes first, then the
Yeah.
sad. Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
I wonder as well. It's like if there's that evil Jake inside of him, just like there's that evil Roland inside of him, just waiting to get out. You know, the hand twitching over the revolver kind of thing.
Yeah.
I could see that with Jake too. It's just like, dude, I could see him like grabbing a log and just beating Mordred's dead body and then succumbing to the sadness.
And of course, we would all know that at the heart of it, Jake would have sensed that Mordred killed Flag, and that was the main reason for the
no.
So, here on Flag Day.
No.
Heil Hayden. Hato Potato showed up.
Welcome.
Right as we're talking about some, I don't know, some grisly natured things here.
I refuse to believe that there's the existence of a good Tad somewhere. I refuse to believe
It's
that.
the multiverse, sir.
That one doesn't exist. Doesn't exist.
Oh, that's good Obi-Wan. Good Obi-Wan reference there.
Thank you.
That's
It doesn't count.
Then he goes on and says, but it is a thing where more information I could, but it's that thing where the more information I could share and sending him the Bible and plan for the show, he could see the things we were trying to do and what was new. And then he said, oh, now I'm interested just as a fan. I'm excited to see where this goes. Once he said yes, then we were off, because if Steve had said no, I wouldn't have done it. So the relationship has evolved, but it's always remained incredibly respectful of separating book from the movie. So, and of course, I think I've tried to do that too, because if nothing else, just understanding the medium of books and film are so different, you can't expect. But also, like, King, I mean, he was quoting someone, but, he was quoting someone where it's like, oh, they ruined your book, whatever. And he's like pointed it over at the shelf. He's like, no, my book's right there. It's totally fine. And King's like told that story. And I think he's even like told it in his own words where it's like, no, my book's still right there. Like nothing's happened to it. Tommy Knockers is still there, even though there wasn't an adaptation for that one. The Langoliers.
Thank God.
The Langoliers. Something.
Thank God there wasn't an adaptation for Tommy Knockers.
I'm really looking forward to reading that just to see, like, because that is the only one I've really got a full-on negative response from you on.
You know what the worst part about it is, too? I think I'm going to do... You said this yesterday in our Patreon hangout. I think I'm doing a full reverse of Candyman. I'm just remembering it ill, but...
Candyman?
No, Tommy Knockers.
Oh, you said Candyman.
I'm doing the reverse of what you said you did with Candyman, how you hyped it up so much, and then everyone after you watched it was like, cool, bro. Like,
Yeah,
that was okay, but, like,
Yeah.
damn, dude. I think I'm remembering it worse than it was, and so I'm building it up, and then you're going to text me. You're like, dude, I just finished Tommy Knockers. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not that bad.
I will say it is divisive online, too. It's one that some people actually do really enjoy it. Other ones, though, are like, what the hell was this book?
Yeah.
So,
I just remember finishing it finally, like dragging myself through the last 100 pages.
Yeah.
In one night, I finally finished it, and I just went. I did that, that meme where it's the scroll of truth. I just threw it across there. I think I gave my copy away.
Yeah.
Like, because that was back when I was buying the books themselves.
Yeah.
So
I will say again, and I think this is 100% just my mood, is the one that I struggled with the most is The Long Walk.
yeah.
I was not in the mood for that book, and I forced my way through it, but I did not enjoy it much. And I really think I might try to revisit it before the film comes out, because I think I might be more of a mood for it now than I was. I don't know. It's just never force yourself through a book generally, especially if it's something like King that you're going to probably enjoy. If you're not in the mood for that kind of book, just skip it, go to something else that you're in the mood for.
Just stop.
And just do it that way. So, but then they go on here and ask Flanagan, can you talk a bit more about your vision for Carrie? And he said, the thing I would say is the original story is half a century old and it's wonderful. Its themes are about youth and bullying and the consequences of that. I believe that in today's modern world, the power of what it means to be a bully, the breadth of that and the impact of bullying has changed a lot. The central tenets are still the same, but it's about much more than Carrie White. I can't really talk about what we're doing. I can only talk I can only really talk about what we're not doing. We're not going to retell the story that's been told, and we're not making a new show about telekinesis. It's in there, but it's not what it's about. So that all sounds interesting.
That means that he is understanding the true story behind Carrie is not the telekinesis. That's a side thing in Carrie's story. Carrie's story is a tragedy.
Yeah.
And it's about Carrie and her life and her upbringing with her mother and the bullying that she sustains at school and how that stunted her growth and everything. Yeah. That's the true story of Carrie. So to see Flanagan, he understands it.
Yeah.
That makes me a little bit more excited for this then.
Yeah. So there's a version of it where Carrie White carries a tragic superhero origin story that goes horribly wrong. I feel like they've done that too. So we're focusing way more on the destruction of a community through these modern tools. What happens in a world where the internet has created an environment of perceived anonymity? Carrie White in the locker room in every iteration is a horrifying scene. Carrie White in the locker room when people have phones in their hand is a whole different thing.
Can live stream it.
And yeah, as I'll say, the 2013 version had phones, but I don't think they really embraced that. Like, I don't feel like the phone thing was that what it would be today. Right, because 2013's internet was different, so much different than it is today.
Mm-hmm. Social media is different as well.
Social media is different. I think that like now the phones, and I think that because I will say some might like snipe him on that comment and be like, no, there was phones in the 2013 version.
That's how they busted the bully.
Yeah, but it's everything. But ultimately in my mind, like
it is different.
It felt very primitive versus what it would be today with cell phones. So and the social media,
they posted a video of her, one video. That was it. I'll tell you right now, nowadays, that happens in a modern high school.
Yeah.
Memes.
Yeah,
memes. The reels. The where you insert her face onto a character from a scene from a movie and stuff like that. Like, imagine if they did like a scene where someone's like bleeding from the neck really bad, and they say, Carrie White's privates, and then they, over the face, and all that kind of stuff is what would happen nowadays. Yeah. And I think that maybe that's what Flanagan's hinting at here is because you're 100% right. Yeah. Where it was then, I mean, we're talking 12 years, 13, going on 13 years ago before this is finished being made. Yeah. That the memes it'll be huge. That's what's big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Plus, I mean, kids today are so much more online than they were in 2013. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so much more pervasive in their life. Like, almost like the phone world is almost more reality to them than the world at school. Yeah. And that wasn't the case in 2013. I think it was still evolving towards that, and you were on that paradigm, but you weren't fully there yet. No. Like, it was kind of part, but it's like it wasn't like now I think like you'd almost be more worried about a kid today being bullied on the phone and social media than in the actual classroom.
Yeah, it's the instance where the laws haven't caught up with the actual times yet. Yeah. Kind of thing, just like everything else with human nature. It's like, okay, we made a step towards bullying. It's like, great, now they bully online. Well, wait, what? What does that mean? Yeah. Still to this day, I hear stories about principals who don't understand cyberbullying and stuff like that. So that's where it's going to be like hard for them to wrap their head around.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. In the chat here, Carol says, but I want to see a flying cola vending machine.
That's Tommy Knockers.
Tommy Knockers.
Yeah.
That machine just called me an asshole.
That machine just called me an asshole.
That's what I thought of. And then the soda machine killing a baseball team, which is one of my absolute
Maximum Overdrive.
That's Citizen Kane. That is one of the greatest cinematic.
That is peak filmmaking for you.
That is absolute cinema.
Yeah,
absolute cinema.
Hayden says, I was going to say that kids today have so much more easy access to information, and the ramifications of instant communication changes how they think, scheme, and act. Yeah, you could be sitting in class, a group of 4, connecting on how to bully Carrie with a smear campaign on social media. The only thing would be is that if you take Carrie at face value, she's not going to have any of that. So how do you bully her to where she's going to see it? That kind of thing. But like,
because I think it becomes a pervasive. Like it's not that she sees on the phone, but the culture it breeds around her.
But like Hayden's saying, they could do that within one class period.
Yeah,
they could set up an entire plan of attack in one class period. in different classes
Yeah.
through their phones and
But
everything
I-
like that.
I know he said this community, but let me just say, what if she went viral?
That's the other thing. What if it becomes a nationwide trend to pull a carry, kind
Yeah.
of thing?
Like, that's just
Oh, this guy pulled a
horrifying to
carry
think
and
about.
and you show a degloving. That's Flanagan's degloving video right there,
there will be a degloving.
I mean, it's Flanagan, for God's sakes.
Yes, indeed.
I
And,
just hope honestly, I just hope that it's Carrie. She just freaking Deadpool and Wolverine's a guy at the prom. Just rips
Yeah.
his skin off.
Hayden has a message for you there.
I think Hayden's saying
Disgusting.
All right, so the next one we've got here is some full-on confirmations for casting for Carrie. So this is titled Carrie. Mike Flanagan's Amazon TV series sets main cast, including Samantha Sloan as Margaret White. So some of our predictions have come true.
Yep.
I think we were debating Kate Siegel versus Samantha. Both, I think that right. Didn't we both pick one of the two, or didn't we both pick Samantha? But we did say
Yeah.
Kate would potentially be a possibility.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does look like Samantha is getting the role of Margaret White. So Joe, this is from Joe Otterson from Variety on June 2nd, 2025. So Variety's reporting there are 10 actors that are set as series regulars in the Carrie TV show for Prime Video. They had previously reported Summer H. Howell as Carrie White, which we've covered, Sienna Agadong as Sue Snell. Also, Matthew Lillard was previously mentioned to be in it, but it is now confirmed that Lillard is playing Principal Grail.
that. Yep.
So, yeah, that makes sense. The other regulars are Samantha Sloan, Fall of the House of Usher, Grey's Anatomy. This is Flanagan family, so we don't
There
have
it
to
is.
we don't have to know, but she's Margaret White, and like, what better actor to play this role, to be honest? Like, we talked about Kate being like a dark horse, like, because
Yeah.
we're like, do you want to like typecast Samantha? Because after what she did in Midnight Mass, like, this Carrie or Margaret White feels not that far removed.
No, they're hand in hand.
Yeah, they are. Or
They're long lost sisters.
so now, if Flanagan ever was to do a new adaptation of The Mist, would Samantha then be
Carmody.
Mother Carmody or Mrs. Carmody? So
Don't
Alice,
call her Mother Carmody. That's creepy.
she calls herself that
I know
a few
that's.
times.
Ugh.
Allison Thornton, and she was in Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce and School Spirits, is playing Chris Hargensen. And there is a picture that Amazon released themselves here, so you get some of the faces here if you're watching. If you're listening on the podcast side, just go to the show notes and you can check out the picture. Like, the article itself has some pictures as well.
Yeah.
Thalilia Dudekek from The Running Man. So got a
Hey.
King regular, but that hasn't necessarily been seen
Yeah.
in the King realm yet. As well as the Undertow is playing Emmeline. And I don't remember Carrie enough to know some of these names, but either way,
I don't
Amber
remember an Emmeline.
Midthunder, which was the star of Prey, wonderful, wonderful actor. She was also in Legion, is playing Miss Disjardin. Disjardin.
That's the gym teacher.
Okay.
That's the one who catches them bullying Carrie.
Yeah.
She slaps Carrie, and then she and the principal decide to punish the girls, and that's where her and Chris, the bully,
Yeah.
have the disagreement.
So, and then we got Josie Toda from Saved by the Bell and the Buccaneers as Tina, Arthur Conti from Beetlejuice and Sons as Billy, and then Joel Olette from Sullivan's Crossing and Nancy Drew as Tommy. So,
Okay.
those are your series regulars.
So Arthur and Allison are a couple, and then Joel and Sienna are the other couple.
Okay.
And Joel is the one. Tommy is the one that takes Carrie to prom.
okay, yeah,
That's
Emmeline, though, does that sound familiar?
Emmeline doesn't sound familiar. Neither does Tina. So that's probably just like a couple of the other girls
Just adding some people in, because
Yeah.
like Emmeline, is that even a name that would have been
in the 70s.
in the 70s?
I don't
That
think
feels
so.
like more of a modern. I mean, it's weird. It feels like an old lady name, kind of, but then it also feels like a modern name too.
Yeah.
Like, if that makes sense. So, those might be.
Yeah, because there's a couple girls that are on the prom committee who stay. Because remember, they go into detention, and Mr. Jordan is like running them ragged, and that's where Chris is like, "No, I've had enough," and she's like, "Okay, you're out of prom.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Your prom tickets are revoked." But then one of Chris's friends still lets her rig the election so that Carrie wins.
Yeah.
So that might be Tina or Emmeline. One of those two could be that kind of figure, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So production, this article mentions the production is set to begin in the coming weeks, this was nearly a fortnight ago. So that could mean that they're either filming right now or maybe even filming Monday. I mean, the filming could be imminent at this point. So
They could be filming right outside our window for all we know.
that's true. I don't know if they'd film in Utah. Utah can't really pass for Maine in any way.
Disgusting state.
So going on to the next one here, we got some more Carrie news. Make sure. Oh no, that's the wrong one. This is the one I wanted to. Here we go. So Kate Siegel, Michael Trucco, Katie Sackhoff, Raul Colley, Tim Bagley, and Heather Graham, among other new additions to Amazon's Carrie TV series.
Holy shit.
And so this is by Matt Grober from Deadline, June 10th, 2025. So Flanagan has added 14 reoccurring guest stars to the cast of Carrie. So these aren't the regulars. These are the going to be the ones that probably are in some episodes, but not all of them. So
I'm going to take a guess.
so it's adapting for Amazon MGM. Character details for these actors are being kept under wraps.
Oh, okay.
Many of them are Flanagan family members, such as Kate Siegel,
Raul now.
Michael Trucco. He was Rufus in Usher, the CEO. Katie Sackhoff needs no introduction.
No.
She is an absolute peach. Raul Colley, Crystal.
This is his third Flanagan, so that makes him officially a family member.
No, I think once they do two.
Two is a family member?
Absolutely, yeah.
So this is his first one after becoming a family member.
Who?
Raul.
I mean, he was in He was in the House of Usher, he was in. I think he may have been in Bly Manor, Midnight Mass.
Oh, I haven't
and
seen
then,
Bly Manor. So he was in Bly Manor?
I think so.
Oh.
So he's certainly. I mean, he's as much of a family member as anyone else.
I love Raul.
Crystal Ballint, and she's Morella from Usher. She's Morella Usher in Usher, as well as she is Dolly in Midnight Mass. Danielle Claudette, Tamerlane's assistant in Usher. So those are all Flanagan family members.
He is in The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Okay, I thought so. So the rest are newcomers to Flanagan. Heather Graham, which we just saw a couple years ago as Rita Blakemore in The Stand.
Yep.
Of course, classically, she's in Austin Powers 2. Yes, 2.
Yeah.
And then Tim Bagley, he's from The Perfect Couple. Timon Penniket from The Madness. Mapuna Makita from Doogie Kamaloa, MD. Nikita Toussaint from Washington Black. Delaney Hales from Interview with the Vampire. Cassandra Nod from Influencer. And then Rowan Danielle, which apparently this is their first production ever.
Oh,
so
nice.
Introducing. Flanagan.
I forgot Raul was also in Life of Chuck.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that.
He's on IMDb. He's credited as a character named Bree in The Life of Chuck.
Well,
So he is absolutely a Flanagan family member.
He's a full-fledged
He's a member
for
of the
sure.
FF.
Indeed. So Flanagan is set to write, executive produce, and direct select episodes. So that's fun. Hyle Spencer, welcome. And then Hayden Heather Graham makes me feel things in my special place.
Not in his special place. In special places.
Oh, in special places. Yeah, she was great and awesome, and she did great as Rita too.
Oh yeah.
I found it strange. I was like, no, she's not old enough to be Rita. Then I looked her up. I'm like, oh, I guess she kind of is close to being old enough to be Rita anyway. All right, so the next one here. Let's see. I just realized I do not. That's because. All right, never mind. So Flanagan, Mike Flanagan's Carrie series will be more relevant than ever, according to Matthew Lillard. This is by Maggie Bacella from Fangoria on May 13th, 2023. Quote, "The exciting thing for me here is that he crafted an idea based around what we're expecting right now in the world," the Scream star said, and shared quote, and shared that with Stephen King, and Stephen King was like, oh, that's a great idea. So it's Stephen King's first published book. It's gone through all these iterations. I think the exciting thing here is that Mike found a way to make it relevant right now, and I think that speaks to what we're all experiencing, and so I think this is going to make I think that's going to make make a big difference. So just a little bit of a snippet from Matthew Lillard there. So let's see. What do I got here? All right, so I have I missed a slide, so there's one from an old episode, but it's all right because I got the right slide I need. That's what was throwing me off a second.
Gotcha.
So, all right, so this next one is interesting. Stephen King is terminating Warner Brothers' copyright license for Shawshank Redemption. Is a new version on the way? Is the
Oh,
here.
Oh.
So Adam Bentz from Screen Rant on May 30th, 2025. So out of the realm of what the fuck is kind of my start here. I don't know what to say about this. So King has terminated his Warner Brothers copyright license for the Shawshank Redemption. First of all, this does nothing for the ownership of the film. That obviously still belongs to Warner Brothers. But as I understand it, this would stop them from doing anything further with the story.
Okay.
This has sparked speculation of could King be looking to sell these rights to someone else, and if that were the case, would it even be worth readapting? I mean, that's
The movie's perfect.
it's a huge
so.
question, yeah. So this comes from Puck's What I'm Hearing newsletter, and it said, quote, King's Shawshank Redemption, Stephen King's lawyers have notified Warner Brothers that he will be terminating the copyright license for the Shawshank Redemption. One of my favorite movies. I hope this doesn't mean he's going to set up a new film or TV series elsewhere. King is pretty aggressive about his terminations. Puck's and Eric Gardner tells me, which makes sense given how robust the market continues to be for adaptations of his books. So that's from the actual publication there.
Yeah.
So the other thing I'm wondering, and it's not like King is hard up for cash. Here's my interpretation.
Okay.
King's not hard up for cash. I wonder if he got rumblings that Warner Brothers was considering a remake. And then he's pulling
And
this.
he's pulling it to honor Frank's.
To-
like, nope,
to
we're
pull
not.
just pull the plug on it entirely.
Nope.
I think that's way more realistic than King's like, oh, somebody might pay me, another, $50 million.
I need to buy
for-
another house in Florida.
Yeah.
Let me sell Shawshank Redemption again. No.
Yeah, I
no.
don't see that. So, and then potentially this is just to cut their legs out from under them on something like that. Because frankly, I would be stunned if King were doing this simply to allow someone else to adapt it. Because he knows as much as anyone that this is not only one of the greatest adaptations of his works of all time, but it's one of the greatest films of all time. So I would be stunned. Also, we know that he and Darabont have a good relationship.
Yeah.
So again, I doubt he's doing this to resell it for a future adaptation.
Frank gets bored and just wants to redo it. You imagine?
I don't think that Frank would play with,
Shawshank Redemption 2.
two shank.
Two shot, two shank.
Having said all that, do you think, having read the novella, is there anything to be gained from something perhaps long form, like doing a mini series, for instance? Would there be anything you think that could be gained?
I mean, it goes back to what our conversations we've had with The Shining.
Yeah,
Does it hurt to reimagine it every 40 years?
yeah,
I mean, we're there.
yeah. We are, but
I mean, you said it about The Shining, but you're going to say it's different for Shawshank?
I think because The Shining, as perfect as a movie as it was, it's a terrible adaptation. So I think that opens it up to the fact of you didn't really fully utilize the source material. Whereas, like, again, and also there is a thing where it's like, yeah, The Shining, you could put it up there as one of the greater horror movies of all time, but it's like Shawshank is like one of the greatest movies of all time. Like, I'm sure it's still one of the top couple movies for IMDb's top 250. Like, this is widely regarded
Do they
one
still
of the
have that?
yeah. This is widely regarded one of the greatest films of all time. So I don't know. I guess that might make it a little bit different for me, but I guess I'm just curious because it's like,
Number one.
ultimately it comes down to this is a story about time. And I think that if you were to make any complaint about a perfect film, it might be that you might slightly not get the same sense of time that the novella gives you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, it's like, 20 something years, but like, sometimes it may not feel like it because ultimately, like, they didn't go super hardcore into aging any of the actors, so it can
Andy had gray hair by the end of it.
a little bit, yeah.
So-
But like they didn't, cause like like aging people up is old Hollywood, right? Like The Exorcist,
Yeah.
Father Karen. Is it? I'm blanking now. Marin. Father Marin was in his 40s when he filmed it. He's the old priest. So they could have easily done some makeup to make these guys look older. They just didn't. So I don't know. I guess because it's kind of like The Shining. I guess you kind of alluded to The Shining because I've always said that there's an element of The Shining, like the length and the isolation. You can never really catch that in a movie. And if you were to do like an 8-part miniseries, you could potentially really show like what does that time feel like, like make it to where like you don't get to Christmas till 4 or 5 episodes in, like and so because like you really show like the slow burn and you allow like the slow burn because like I mean what Kubrick did was so different than what King's book does that like there's a lot you could do with the Shawshank. I mean there's different wardens, but like I can't say there's enough to justify it in my mind. I want to at least have the conversation though, where it's like, long form is because I think doing a movie would be absolutely fucking idiotic. Like that's just like, don't tug on Superman's cape is the classic line here, and like, like I don't know. I could you imagine trying to follow that up? Right? It's just like when that one point in the early 2000s, and they're like, oh, we're gonna find a new singer for Queen. It's like, okay, like how shitty is that for a person to have to step into the band and replacing one of the greatest vocalists of all time?
We're both sports fans. We know what it's like to watch someone try to fill the shoes of a great.
Yeah.
And
it's like, can you imagine like being a director or a writer?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you're gonna write something. Okay, what is it? Oh, Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. Oh, they made a movie about that. Oh, it's one of the most beloved and classic movies of all time. Like,
it's the highest rated movie on Internet Movie Database. Like,
and it's up there. I mean, when you go look at any of the lists, like if you look at AFI's top 100, it's on there. Like it's on all these lists. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. No argument at all. So you think the answer is no? There's nothing to really be gained from a retelling, especially if it was long form, because then you're at least not 100% pulling on Superman's cape. You're at least trying something different because you're trying to show maybe more of the length and play out.
Yeah, I mean, you could show more of what happens to Andy throughout his prison life. Like building the library could be a big thing, and then have it get destroyed. That's not necessarily in the short story, but obviously that could play a part in his eventual like fucking over the warden and everything that he does and everything. So it's like, I mean, you
could also do a full episode for Brooks just to destroy everyone's soul.
Oh God. Ooh, yeah. That
because let's admit that tears the fucking heart out of everyone, right?
It does.
Watching that little bit from that every once in a while, like I'll see like a YouTube video. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch that. What the fuck would I watch that for?
It's just like hey, here's the best parts of episode 4 from Chernobyl. So let's watch that. It's like, no, thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, like if there were ever a YouTube like, hey, do you want to watch a scene from episode 4 of Chernobyl? I'd be like, no.
Hard pass.
Absolutely not. Hayden says Shawshank 2, The Shankening. Oh, man. So, I don't know. We can at least definitely keep an eye on this to kind of see what, what comes, maybe.
I think it's far more likely that he's protecting Darabont from a remake.
Yeah. Because, like, honestly, like...
it would not surprise me that a studio's stupid enough to try and remake.
Would be Warner Brothers, too.
No, I think Sony would be the stupidest one that would try it.
With current leadership of Warner Brothers.
If Sony owned Shawshank Redemption, we'd probably have 3 remakes by now. Honestly, I believe that we would.
Yeah.
We'd have a miniseries. We'd have one where he's a black guy. We'd have one where it was a woman. All these different things. I honestly believe Sony would do that. One of them, it wouldn't be a prison escape. It would be a full-fledged riot.
Yeah.
Where she takes over the prison and starts a new country and all kinds of stupid shit that
It'd be starring Vin Diesel.
Yeah, it'd be Vin Diesel, like, all I need is my family. That kind of shit. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was King protecting Darabont.
Yeah. There we go. My thing was correcting. I'll give you a teaser in my next section. There's Pet Cemetery, and it was showing it spelled incorrectly. I did spell it with an E instead of a 2 A's. But I'm happy it wasn't correcting it with the C, though. So I do have it in my dictionary to take the incorrect spelling.
There you go.
All right. So what we got? So we're moving next.
There would be a Sony version of Craven Goes to Shawshank.
So next up we have odds and ends. So the first one here, and this is kind of interesting because we actually talked about this way back in the pre Dark Tower movie days, because we talked about the fact that we're ripe for potentially doing well box office wise, because ultimately we learned in 2017, early in 2017, was Stephen King's box office figures are very, very weak.
Yes,
they were very weak.
Shawshank is. It's
not
regarded
even
as one of the best movies of all times. It also is considered one of the greatest flops of all time.
It was a flop financially. So I just find it interesting. Now let's fast forward. What has it now been? 8 years since 2017. And I found this article that I was like, you know what? Let's cover this because I find it kind of interesting. So top 10 King box office of all time. now in 2025.
Okay.
And it'll be funny to look at the ones that have come since 2017. Just shows you how soft these box office figures are. I will say too, we also found earlier in the year the Monkey helped Stephen King cross the $1 billion mark for the all-time. So we at least know that King has now made $1 billion. It's insane that it took 50-something years to get there, though. But number 10,
A lot of his stuff also was made for TV too, so that's.
there's a lot of iconic movies. It's just you didn't.
I mean, you got to look at it. It was TV. The Stand was TV. Rose Red was TV. All of those ones were TV. So it's like
the Langoliers.
The Langoliers. That classic, man. If that had been a movie, oof, oof, the box office.
Those goblins flying in the sky. All right, so number 10 is a newer one, Dr. Sleep. I mean, relatively newer since the last time we looked at this list. Dr. Sleep was $72.4 million. Again, one that we've also looked at that is considered a financial flop.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting that that's in the top 10 of Stephen King's all-time
And is
box
regarded
office.
by many as to be one of
brilliant
better,
film.
one of the better adaptations.
Yeah, I'll fight anyone that wants to tell me that it's not a brilliant film. It's incredible. One that was on the list back when we covered it last time at number 9, Dreamcatchers with $75.7 million. That one was back in the early 2000s.
2004, I think, is if I remember.
That one I don't have to memory for some reason, probably because I've never owned it or anything. So I know it was early on. I know it stars the dude from Band of Brothers, so it would have been like post 2001.
2003.
2003. Okay, 2004 didn't sound right because I do think there's another one on this list that is in 2004. We'll get to that in a second. So next up is Carrie 2013. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Number 8. So that one would have been on the list back last time we checked it, but it is still a newer one. That one made $84.8 million. Okay. So not bad.
Getting closer to the $100 million.
I am looking forward to actually going back and rewatching that one too. I feel like I've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah.
But I want to revisit that because I don't think I've watched it since 2013. So it'd be kind of interesting to go and watch that. I mean, I've seen the original hundreds of times over the years because that's just it's been around my whole life. But that one I feel like is underrated. If nothing else, Julianne Moore as Margaret White
so good.
is incredible. So but I think this one's 2004 is number 7, Secret Window. I want to say that's 2004. Not that's one that I've ever owned. Okay, cool.
That's the Johnny Depp one.
Yeah, Johnny Depp. That one's got $92.9 million.
Still getting close to $100 million.
Getting close, but and then next up we got one that has come out since our last time looking at this list. Number 6, Pet Sematary 2019, with $113.1 million.
It did that well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not too bad. Not too shabby. And then, ironically, it all comes around. Number 5, The Dark Tower, making $113.2 million.
Wow.
So again, considered a flop, considered a whatever, and then there it is on the list. Number 4, 1408 with $132.9 million.
Still haven't seen it.
It's been around a while. Number 3 was number 1 way back in the day when we covered this. The Green Mile, $286.8 million. And then number 2, It Chapter 2 with $473.1 million. And then number 1, It Chapter 1 at $702.8 million. So
wait, hold on.
What? Or I'm sorry, 702.8 million. So yeah. What?
How much did It Chapter 1 make?
702.8. According to this article.
And how much did It Chapter 1 make?
473.1. So yeah, that's those. And the funny thing is that the first one came out in 2017. Yeah. So we were talking that like, oh man, Dark Tower could actually cause some waves here. We could potentially get into like the top list. Little do we know, the one that would come out, what was it, a month or two later? Was it Dark Tower in August, and then it was in
September.
So the next month ended up being the all-time Stephen King champion. So
702,800,000 for It Chapter 1.
702.8.
702 million.
Yeah.
It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2 made $1 billion together. Right?
I don't remember what the thing was with the monkey then. There was some
That's weird.
Something got crossed with the monkey.
Yeah.
Because we found a thing that was before the movie came out that said it needs 200 million or something like that, and then we had the next article we covered said that the monkey was already up to 400, whatever it was. Like it was enough to surpass whatever. So So that is the list now in 2025. Of course, this is another year of King, just like 2017. We've got a lot of Stephen King stuff coming out this year.
So you sent me 2 things that I had to watch for the show today.
Yes, which is actually our next.
We're going to talk about it here. Well, my wife watched one of them with me. Obviously, she didn't watch the other one.
So
take a guess which one, Tad.
So we'll go ahead. I'll change over the slide. We're talking the 2 trailers that have come out since our last roundtable. Welcome to Derry dropped its first trailer, and then The Institute dropped its trailer.
Yeah.
The Institute, we also got the release date with its trailer.
September.
The Welcome to Derry, no such luck. We still don't have a date for that. So it's July 13th.
July, that's right.
So, which is normal. I think I think we were talking about that on a I don't remember if it was this show or our other show. Well, a few episodes back, I was talking about how don't get concerned when TV shows don't have release dates, because I think we get so used to movies that are years out. They plant their date and their flag, but a lot of times with movies, it's a month or 2 out before they lock down. Here's where our shows come out, but they'll tell you oh, it's first quarter. It's coming out fourth quarter 2025, and then they just keep saying that. People are where's the fucking date? Yeah. And then in September, they're it's coming out in October. They always do that where it's a week or a month before.
They don't want to do it too far in advance so people forget. It's not like a movie where trailers get released and posters go up.
Yeah.
Where you're going to the theater and seeing the poster for what's coming out next week.
That could be it. I also think there's more of a fluidity with TV. Mm-hmm. I think they tend to move shit around a lot more to where it's they know they're going to put it in October, but it's well, let's do October 11th. It's and then something else, some stuff happens. They're well, let's move it to a week later, and
let's move it closer to Halloween and Halloween's on a Saturday. Well, shit, we should do it over the weekend and stuff like that. So they wait even longer so that they know and everything like that.
So they're solid, yeah. And I think TV, of course, they're not necessarily concerned with dollars.
Bye, Hayden.
All right, see you, Hayden. They're not as concerned with box office dollars. It's all about advertising.
Right.
They need people to watch, so it's they got to be concerned about, is there going to be a big playoff sports game is that weekend? They got to be concerned with those things. So I think there's always they always leave themselves a lot more wiggle room, whereas movies are just here's our date. 3 years from now, we'll be here.
Yep. And every now and then they'll move it still. We've seen that, where they move it up a week or back a month and stuff like that. It happens.
It's rare, but
it's rare.
Yeah.
Versus a TV show where it's hey, so this was going to come out last week. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
That's happened before too.
Yeah.
Where it's just wait, what? They just dropped this series that we've been waiting for 2 years?
Yeah.
So.
And this dropped a week or so ago, The Institute, and so again that follows that July 13th. That's literally a month minus a day from today. So it's it's just it kind of makes sense that one has a date, whereas Welcome to Derry comes out probably the last quarter of the year. It'll probably be we'll start to see the leaves changing before we probably see the date for Welcome to Derry.
Right.
But your wife watched the Institute trailer?
Yes, thought it looked good.
Yeah,
and everything.
Couldn't get her to watch Welcome to Derry?
She said no thank you, politely and firmly. So, was Salem's Lot this year when it finally dropped on Max, or was it last year?
Oh, God.
Because it says release date October 3rd, 2024.
It was 24.
And
it was late last year because it was around Halloween. It was in October, and we're not there yet for 2025. So, yes, that was last year.
Yeah, there's a Reddit post here that says Salem's Lot will be released on October 11th on Max. So I'm wondering if it... I don't know why, but I was remembering it in February, so I was wrong about that. But me and my wife were talking, just how many adaptations are coming out this year, and I miscounted because I included Salem's Lot. 5.
6.
Salem's Lot was 6 for me.
No.
What's the 6th
The Monkey. Did you forget The Monkey?
That's the one I was thinking of. That's what came out in February.
Yeah, we skipped that last episode.
Yeah.
You were forgetting that one because I was I knew there were 6 because we're matching the number of adaptations that came out in 2017.
Yeah.
And so I find that kind of an interesting parallel. But in the last episode, we were counting them up, and I'm what the fuck are we missing? And it was The Monkey.
Because I asked if it was Salem's Lot. That's why it was in my brain. So it's The Monkey, The Institute, Carrie.
He's a cute little guy.
No,
up there.
he's not.
Just so everyone knows, there's the Monkey popcorn bucket is up there behind Peter's.
Horrible.
Oh wait, where'd he go?
If you want me to leave, I'll leave. Just say it. So we have The Monkey, The Institute, Welcome to Derry, The Long Walk, Life of Chuck, and The Running Man in November.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Correct. That is the docket for the year. Yeah. To match up with there was a shitload in 17. I know Dark Tower. God, there was one of the Netflix shows came out in 17, didn't it? Was it
Gerald's Game?
1922, or was it Gerald's Game?
Gerald's Game came out first, so I think it's that one.
Okay, I don't. Yeah, it was a busy year that year for sure. Yeah, and then 2019 we had Pet Cemetery, and then It Chapter 2 came out in 19. So
I think that's when 1922 was 2017. Mr. Mercedes also debuted.
okay, so yeah, it was a busy year in 17, and we're busy here. So first off, let's talk Welcome to Derry. Having watched the trailer now, we've obviously been covering a lot of it, a lot of news about it for a while now.
Yeah.
But now we're finally seeing, footage. We're seeing, whatever, getting kind of a hint at some story. So what are your thoughts as the resident expert?
It's kind of interesting that we're getting the Losers Club without the Losers Club kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like they're hunting it, but I'm trying to figure out. So this is 1962. So that's going to be during a cycle.
Yeah. This is the cycle previous to the first one in the movies?
Yes, which is when Georgie is killed.
Yeah.
Because that's 87, 85?
I think it's 87.
Yeah, because it's 25 years before.
Yeah, because I always 87's an iconic year. There's all kinds of great albums that came out that year. There's a lot of great horror movies that came out that year. So yeah, I think it was 87. So yeah, this is basically the cycle before that. So yeah, I thought the same thing. I was kind of like thrown off by like how much it felt like it. Because I don't know, like there's just part of me that's like, and I trust Muschietti. I don't think that it's going to be like super overt. I don't think it's going to feel like, oh my god, this is just Kmart Losers Club here. I think it will feel distinct with this group of kids. Ultimately maybe they don't have the finger of Gan, as it were, on them. So, maybe they're a little bit more Rogue One-ish, on a suicide mission that they're not going to survive here.
According to ChatGPT, the first cycle is 88 to 89. And then, so 27 years is the cycle.
It's 80.
So 61 to 62.
Oh, that's right, because there was a shitty Freddy sequel in their theater in the first It movie. That's right. That wouldn't have been 87.
Yeah.
No, there's better movies in 87.
I don't know why, but I was thinking it was 85 because that was our birth year.
No, I knew it wasn't 85.
I was like, I don't think it's 85, so I was doubting myself. So
then
I
I
wanted to look it up.
Then it would have been Day of the Dead in the theaters.
That's true. But yeah, so 61, 62, it's going to be interesting because it's a decade after when it's set in the book.
Yeah.
So we got everything shifted by 10 years or so.
Yeah.
When there should be a cycle.
Yeah.
And everything. So it's it's a little bit interesting. But it does point out here that the cycle before that would be 1934 to 1935. So the Depression.
Yeah.
The Great Depression instead of the Roaring 20s.
Yeah.
With Prohibition.
Was there a gangster thing, or am I conflating The Shining?
Nope, that's
There's one in It, too.
the Bradley Gang.
Okay, which would fit in the 30s.
You
got rum runners.
You can still have, the Prohibition's done by the 30s. So you're not going to have rum runners and stuff like that. You don't have that.
No, but you'll have the resulting.
But the nice
gangs.
thing was that the Bradley Gang was not smugglers; they were bank robbers. So that's any decade. So that's no problem. You can still have that in the 30s. It's just going to be interesting because I'm trying to remember. Yeah, the one that starts the cycle for that one is the Kitchener Ironworks.
Yeah.
Explosions.
And there's some allusions to some familiar things in this trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just pictured
the drain.
You Leo memeing it the whole time. I just feel like because you're way more plugged into it than I am. I mean, I've read it a couple times for sure, but
her saying that she hears voices, and I'm like, oh, hey,
yeah,
Beverly.
And then we got our jumping to the end. Of course, we got our first look at Pennywise.
Yep.
Again.
Look at him. He saw his fucking shadow. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you should tell your wife. There's only a shadow.
Yeah.
It's just
it's what I told her to get her to read the book, because I'm like, dude, he's not in it that much.
No.
Like, really, he's not.
And he's not a clown that often either in the books.
I will say, I want to say what I feel, and I hope it doesn't influence you, but I want to say, dude, I get so nervous with that family at the beginning of the trailer. Picking up the hitchhiking boy, and seeing that he's one of the members and everything like that. Oh, just tell us where you live, son. We'll take you back. To dude, I'm so unsettled.
That's
by
like
them.
that's like the family that's watching when they're driving by when Ben's getting carved up.
Yeah.
In the movie,
yeah.
It just gave me those vibes for sure.
There's a scene in the book that it reminds me of, is that when Beverly's getting chased by her dad.
Yeah.
Because someone told her dad that she's been fooling around with those boys down in the Barrens.
Yeah.
She goes running from her dad. She literally watches a guy get up from his porch, fold his newspaper, and walk inside.
Yeah.
Like, that man's going to kill his daughter. Well, I don't want to see that. Instead
Yeah.
of going and helping or hurrying to call 911, he gets up, let me just fold my newspaper, and I saw nothing.
Yeah.
That's Derry.
Yeah.
And that's the true horror of it. So
Yeah.
seeing this family, it just reminds me of that. I'm just like, dude,
Yeah.
they could very well be innocent and perfectly nice and really helping this boy out and everything like that.
You're a hopeful one, aren't
But
you?
man, I don't know. I don't trust him for a fucking second. It's Derry, for God's sakes. So
Yeah.
also seeing the winter months.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever been done before.
Probably not. And I'm sure that's what Muschetti's looking at, is like trying to do some stuff that's kind of new,
Mm-hmm.
different.
Because Ben's first encounter with Pennywise is the mummy on a frozen river.
Yeah.
On the frozen canal. So
Yeah. So overall, what's your thoughts? You're the bigger fan of the two of us
Yeah.
here. So
I think that every single one of these kids ends up dead.
that's why I was like, Rogue One is the thought I have. Where I'm
think
like, oh, got kind of a losers club thing going
I
on.
wonder
Well,
if he's
these
going to
guys
be
are
the.
fucked.
I wonder if the kid's going to be the sole survivor, and that's what the series is going to pick up, and it's going to be him hitchhiking, trying to get out of town, and then he's telling them, like, "Well, tell us your story," and he's like, "Well, all right, I got to tell someone." Hey, welcome, Baraki. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, welcome.
And he's telling them their story from the previous summer into the fall, into the winter, and everything like that, and then he's just like, "Everyone else is dead. I'm getting the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
And then the very last scene is him coming back to that car, and dude, he ends up dead.
Yeah.
Or like it pulls away, and you just see a balloon pop up in the back seat with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's HBO. I have high expectations, and like the trailer
Yeah.
is looking what I would want, I guess, ultimately. Like I'm still intrigued because we've kind of been given the idea that this is going to be cutting doing a lot of the, what were they called, interludes
Yeah.
in the book. That's what they're going to be
It's
picking
like
up with
the history of Derry.
the history, and like, so I'm curious that it seems like we're pretty well planted in the 60s. So I don't know, like, are we going to have a character that's going to be diving into the history of Derry? Ultimately, we do know that Muschetti's, if HBO gives it to him, he wants like 3 seasons of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like, I don't know, are we just going to jump back in time with each?
I wonder if it's
each
going to cover
season?
I wonder if it's just going to cover one cycle this
Yeah.
season. Like the person who's doing like the research is covering the 60s cycle.
Yeah.
What if this is someone in modern era who found out about it and is going back, and their first stop is the 60s? Because
Yeah.
you got to remember, the 80s one, that got cut short.
Yeah.
And the one after that got cut short too.
Yeah.
The 2017 cycle got cut short. So it's like,
Yeah.
well, where's the last full cycle? Oh, it's 62, 61 to 62. Well, let me start there.
Yeah.
And this is them researching, and you see it like played out.
And that
everything.
finale.
Oh, Pennywise
it-
walking through the
No,
storm.
no, no.
Oh,
It always goes out with a bang. So
Oh,
what's
yeah.
the finale of this season going to look
Yeah.
like? What god awful thing are we going to see?
the end of the cycle.
Yeah, because that's what in the book I do remember that it's always like this, like just orgy of fucking death. It's like the finale. It's a big grand finale of the whole
It's not
thing.
just the finale. It's the start of the cycle as well.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So
but
that's where you got to be careful, is that if you're realizing that it's both. So
Yeah.
like the tamest of the starts of the cycle, if I remember right, is Adrian Mellon.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's in the middle of a cycle that happens.
I thought he was the star. I know they played him as a star in the movie.
Yeah.
but I thought that was that way in the book too.
I think it's the middle of a cycle in the book that he's not even like counted. Like Mike's debating on counting him or not, kind of thing. So I think there might be another one, or maybe I'm misremembering. But there's the ones I know of. There's the slaughter at the Silver Dollar. There's the complete disappearance of everyone in the Derry Township settlement,
Yeah, that's one I want to see. Give me an episode or something on that.
where everyone you have explorers.
Just Roanoke stuff, just absolutely gone.
coming in, just looking for them, and there's no one there and everything. Do you want something to happen to them, or the people who are coming in, or
That's
no?
a good thought, because I think you could play it more sinister, where it is just like maybe even it's a cold open for an episode.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the other thing I think. So I think we're set in the 60s, and I think there's a good chance that each season might go back. And I don't know if it's going to go back like linearly and go back to like the next previous one, or if it could jump potentially multiple things back.
Yeah.
But I do think that the through line is going to be looking back even further, because I do think that we're going to try, like, because I think, like, let's just say it's linear and it's just like the 61 and then 27 years to that and then 27
30s, yeah.
and like you're only going to get back into like the late 1800s with at that point. So like you're gonna, in my mind, I think you're going to want to actually get the story of like a go even, or like those, like the Roanoke, you know, colony that like gets wiped out, like,
Yeah.
but I don't think you're ever going to get to that in a way that way. So I almost wonder if you're going to pick up pieces that you're like over the course of the 3 seasons, you're going to get the full fucking view. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be like kind of one of those, like, you know, like a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle.
If
You
you
put-
take it would be really cool if they did it in a very specific type of style.
Yeah,
when they
like black and white.
when they reveal the stuff,
like do black and
then
white
you
for like
take-
the really old stuff or
yeah.
something.
Then you take all of the reveals throughout the 3 seasons, you put them together in one video, and it's like, you know, 45 minutes long, like an entire episode, and it literally is like the start and end of each cycle
Yeah.
in this video.
Yeah.
The Kitchener Ironworks exploding, the fire at the black spot.
Dude, what if they did that and it was just like a black and white, like really shitty, like early 20th century video,
almost like a found
But-
footage kind of shit?
But they do that for the opening credits. But then each one is different, and it lends to like what might be in the episode, kind of like Game of Thrones, where the map would change based on the
Yeah.
what episode it would be.
who's in Winterfell, what flag raises, and kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like do something like that where it's actually like slightly gives you some hints about like you know, this is some of the stuff that's going to get
You see
uncovered.
a newspaper clipping saying bank robbed in Kansas City, Missouri, which is where the Bradley gang was rumored to be
Yeah.
before they headed for the northeast to where it's, you know, not so hot for them.
Yeah,
Or you see like Kitchener Ironworks hosting Easter egg hunt this Sunday,
yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and that would be an interesting thing, is if you actually like did those kind of things where it was like not the results, but like the lead-ins.
Yeah.
You know, like jobs booming at the Kitchener Ironworks, like, you know, just like do things where it's like it like readers are gonna know.
Oh, dude, what if you just did a whole thing of the Kitchener Ironworks being built?
Yeah,
Like Kitchener Ironworks, ground broken for Kitchener Ironworks, and
how many jobs it's gonna bring to
how
the
many
town.
jobs is
and-
it going to bring to the town? This textile mill and everything like that, or whatever it is that they do there.
Yeah,
I think they actually make gears, if I remember right, and everything. And then it's like the very last shot is Easter egg hunt this Sunday at the Kitchener Ironworks. Bring the kids, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is the last newspaper, and
Yeah.
then we go into the episode.
yeah. Robert says a close-up of a trail of muddy footprints going towards a well, then pan out and you see hundreds of footprints heading toward the well.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, like that. I think there's a lot of really cool shit, and I guess that's my only question that's still hanging on, is I don't know how we're getting the idea of like the entire history of Pennywise, because I feel like that was kind of like the thesis statement that Muschietti told us up front. Is like the whole thing with this is I want to tell the history, everything we couldn't get in the movies, and a lot of
the
it.
stuff with Mike in the book is what it is.
Yeah,
It's
and
him.
a lot of that is history. A lot of
Yeah.
that shit that got cut out of the films is the history. And I just don't see how, especially when he said that I want to do 3 seasons, it's like, hey, he's got a distinct idea. And maybe he even told us, maybe it is actually like where it's like, you know, 60s, 30s, and it just literally is like the 3 seasons would be 3 cycles that are in a row. We're just going backwards.
if we're doing, sorry,
And you're not going to get to like the colony. You're not going to get to my absolute dream would show us go fucking batshit and show us the Ago thing, like the fucking ritual of Chud, like the vision. Let us see that in some way, because
I
like
mean, honestly, you could still do that even if you do 3 seasons and focus it, because I will say that I do remember very distinctly Mike has 3 start and stops that are called out in the book. So the 1950s one notwithstanding, but the 1920s one starts with the Kitchener Ironworks exploding and ends with the fire at the black spot, or vice versa. I can't remember which one's which. Which one start, which one stops. The one before that is the Bradley gang, and or is that one the Kitchener Ironworks?
looks like you need to reread it.
I think I need to. I haven't read it yet this year, so maybe I do. But I know distinctly that there is 3 cycles, start and stops, given in the book, and then the bonus extras is Adrian Mellon stuff is covered, and then the Lost Colony one, like
Yeah.
the Roanoke Colony, is
Yeah.
covered.
And then
so I
the-
think those ones might be kind of like extras.
Yeah.
If they're in it, it's all like the Colony one. But honestly, what you do is you do the 3 and the 3 seasons covering those 3 time periods. And what if you do it this way? Dude, this would be brilliant. Okay, so we're starting with the 60s, right? What if the kids in the 60s are investigating the one from the 30s? And then what you do is season 2 is a bunch of kids in the 30s investigating the ones
and
in the 19...
each one reveals more. So you're almost doing like Memento.
Yes.
You know, where it's like you're telling the story in reverse, but it's like even though it's in reverse, you're actually learning the actual narrative. You're just doing it backwards. Because each one would be further back, which means they have more clarity. Where it's like
because they're closer to the events.
The ones in the 60s are looking at the one that would be what is it
1905 or something like that.
The turn of the century. Like that's going to be a lot more hazy to them.
Yeah.
Whereas for the ones that are only 30 years removed from that, that's going to be a hell of a lot clearer.
It's the difference between us trying to examine something from the 60s versus us trying to examine something from the 90s.
Yeah,
90s is 30 years ago.
90s is now. Like what are you talking about?
Yeah, that happened last night. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 10 years ago is the 80s.
Yeah, Jordan's push off of Brian Russell in the NBA Finals, that just barely happened, right?
Yeah. You better Jazz fans.
I mean, he admitted it, so it's fine. It's all right.
He must have like superpowers. He barely touched the guy.
I mean, he
goes
pushed
flying back.
Arm extended. That's a push, sir. That's an offensive foul. And everything. So, Agamorphy joined us. Welcome, Agamorphy. We're talking about Welcome to Derry. But no, I think that would be a really cool way of doing it. Is that the 60s kids are investigating the previous cycle, then you go to that cycle, and those kids are investigating, and then what you do is the series finale is someone doing the ritual of Chud, where they do this not the ritual of Chud, that's the wrong thing, where they do the smokehouse.
But do you think we could see stuff that the characters won't? In the case of like a Go, because we know I feel like the losers are very special with some of the stuff they're doing. So I don't know if I'm even okay with like others doing even a smokehouse, because I feel like that's so very like distinct to them.
What if you have someone who is a victim of Pennywise, like the very last one in the very last season? He or she is the last survivor in the very first one that were the 1900s, 1903 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He or she's the very last survivor, and they get taken into the deadlights, and that's where they see the Ago.
Yeah,
that would be okay.
That I'd be okay with that, because I just feel like you got to be careful not to take away the shine. No, that's the wrong word.
I see what you did there, Tad.
No,
I see what you did there.
No, you can't take the polish off of the losers. The losers need to be special, right? It's like Luke Skywalker's the hero. No matter what you do with these like other things like Rogue One, you can't ever take the shine off of Luke. Luke is got to be the hero. So you just got to be careful of that. I feel like that's that way with the losers. Like they've got to be. There's something almost like chosen about them that's like they're distinct, and like there could be others that try to stand up to Pennywise, but they should fail. There should be because I almost see it like the divine intervention. Like Gan seems to have had I know turtles don't have fingers, but he had his finger on the losers, and he didn't do that with any others. Like not in a heavy way.
Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael say otherwise about having fingers. You son of a bitch. You keep those turtles' names out of your mouth. Agamorphy says or Harry Potter. The one I was gonna equate it to is
good call. Yeah,
you gotta have a chosen one. But in the Star Wars one, you have Leia introduced, but she doesn't take over. She doesn't do anything to take over and supplant Luke and everything like that. It's the same thing for Harry Potter. There's people who help Harry as the chosen one and everything like that. Yeah, but they don't take over for him. They don't replace him and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's ones that
and the Chud's not in the movies, right? Did they completely excise that out of the films?
Kind of. It Chapter 2 is.
I'm trying to remember.
Is vague for me, but I think that Mike is a little bit deranged and is like, we need to do this ritual, and they do it, and it goes weird.
Okay, so they have done it then. Because as I'll say, if they actually completely removed it,
the ritual of Chud, where they tie tongues and tell jokes or riddles to each other.
That's right.
Has never been in the movie.
Okay, but the other thing is, it wasn't even the ritual of Chud that was the Ago. That was just the two.
That's the smokehouse. All they did was smokehouse. That's Mike and that's Ben.
Yeah,
that is nothing to do with the ritual of Chud.
That's right.
Chud.
So I think that might actually be okay to do, because that's a little bit less like Gan, type.
Exactly.
So yeah, you're right.
That's just a reveal.
Wasn't that a native thing too?
It was a native thing that Ben read about, that they do the smokehouse thing. So if you get back into the 1900s, dude, you're 50 years removed from the last Indian battle. I mean, Native American battle.
Or what
Sorry.
if what if you go to the point again? I still think that we might have small flashbacks that go further back than where we're at in our narrative.
That could
What
happen
if we
as
actually
well.
go back to, because isn't there one point in the book where they basically say like the settlers had recorded the fact that the natives won't go anywhere near this place?
Yeah.
Like they're like, nope.
Mike recorded that.
Yeah,
he's
it's like, nope.
he's like, back then the Native Americans would be like, that's a valley of death.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hell no, we won't go. Hell no,
Yeah,
we won't go.
Agamorphy says poorly executed chud in It Chapter 2. Okay, so there's my problem is that sometimes my vision of the books is so
Yes.
vivid that there's times I'll be like, oh yeah, that was in the movie, and then somebody like, no, it wasn't, and so like I start to like second guess myself, and I'm like, maybe something wasn't in the movies at all. I just visualized it so well from King's writing.
It literally just clicked with me when you realized it that the ritual of chud and the smokehouse
are
are
different.
two completely different
And the
things.
smokehouse is the more interesting thing to me. Like
Yeah.
as like a history fan, and like the idea of like this literally goes back to like
Of
the
course.
foundations of the world. Like
Of course
that's,
it is, because it has absolutely nothing to do with Richie Tozier, who is the one that successfully performs the ritual of chud.
Yeah. Beep beep.
You always like to shit on
So-
Richie.
No, I like Richie.
You like him, but you don't love him. He's
I mean-
he's not even in your top 3 for losers. I guarantee it. He's too loud. I know how you feel about loud characters. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I do like him because he's got that charisma to him and stuff.
that's
so.
one that we should do when we have a minute and a free end of an episode. Have me rank the 7 losers.
Yeah, well, we did do the like our favorite kids.
We
King
did King
and
Kids,
stuff.
but just have me rank the 7 losers in it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and like that would even be something along the lines of have me maybe at the same time I could do the stand characters.
Robert, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's one of those horror movies my dad had locked away in his rated R movie
Chud?
case. Chud. God, that movie scared the living shit out of
You know
me.
what I always think of is when Homer doesn't want to go to New York City.
Yeah.
And he like gets the pimp is chasing him and stuff, and he falls in the street. Then the chuds got me. And she's like, you can't judge a city based off the pimps and the chuds. I mean, I've seen that movie too
Oh,
because
have
like
you?
I grew up watching.
Okay.
Dude, I grew up going from A to Z in Hollywood Video.
I honestly believe that movie was like,
that and Critters.
I believe that movie was like 3 copies, and my dad just happened to have one of them
No.
because it was so
Oh,
unpopular.
it's kind of a cult. It's more of a cult classic,
Okay.
but I remember renting it for
Dude,
sure.
I remember being so scared of it that I would fast forward. That's how bad it was for me. I never went back and rewatched
But
it
you
when
also
I got older.
you also didn't
so.
have exposure therapy to
No.
horror like I did.
No.
So.
That was definitely one that afterwards I legit had nightmares, and I would not go near sewer drains. like I got the full like Pennywise treatment. I was like, dude, manhole covers and sewer drains,
So
nowhere near them.
We got a little bit under 15 minutes left.
Oh, yeah.
Put a button on it for
Okay.
Welcome to. For me, I'm absolutely excited. This trailer, not that I didn't have any doubts necessarily. I still have a few hanging questions, but it's more not about like, oh my God, am I going to enjoy this? It's more of an idea of like, how are they going to do what I hope they're going to do, like
Right.
the more ancient shit. And that's not that won't ruin the show if they don't do it. But I just hope that they do. But for me, it's HBO. I trust it implicitly. Like it's probably going to be great. But you are a much bigger It fan, so what do you think?
If it's it,
Just hook it to my veins!
that's what it comes down to.
I figured.
I mean-
so. I just in case it got to
Yeah.
the point where you see the trailer and you're just man, I'm just not excited for it. or
That just
whatever,
doesn't look
so.
like. No, I mean it's HBO. I'm having a coming to Max revelation that I prefer a lot of shit that's on Max and a lot of stuff that they're making.
Yeah.
I really
They got good
am,
stuff.
I really am
I think-
preferring a lot
I've
of it.
said-
I mean, there's obviously the Disney stuff.
Yeah.
Marvel, Star Wars is always going to be on Disney. I'm always going to be using that.
Yeah.
But me and my wife were talking about potentially doing like the rotation thing for streaming.
Yeah.
And we do annual plans.
Yeah.
And we started making a list of all our streaming services, and she's like, Apple TV is definitely one that we could rotate. Paramount.
Well, you got to get away from the annual plans because you can't really rotate unless you're rotating for like an entire year.
That's what we're
Yeah.
thinking of doing is
Yeah.
doing like an entire year. But then like Apple TV, Paramount Plus, can't do Hulu. That's bundled with our
Disney.
Max is now bundled with our Disney. I forgot about that when we looked into it.
Yeah. They got good stuff, man.
Those 3 bundled together, and it's just like I don't think that I can get rid of Max because
You mean HBO Max?
Max. It's called Max. Tab.
It's HBO Max. We covered that on
no,
the
it's
Geekery Bites.
just called Max.
No, they're going back to it.
Oh my fucking god, that's
We
right.
covered that, yeah.
Oh,
And then, Agamorphy, speaking to my heart, Max has Turner Classic Movie Hub, which makes it worthwhile.
yeah.
Great
but
stuff
also
there.
on top of that, they have Warner Brothers, which has all the Harry Potters. It has all of the
DC
Batman
stuff,
stuff.
yeah.
Is
Dude,
cycled in and out there.
I mean,
so.
Zaslav, since he got involved, like there's been a little shine taken off of Warner Brothers a
Yeah.
bit because he's an idiot. But I will say, even from the earliest days, I was saying with HBO Max, like this is one of the best streaming services there is. Like,
Well,
it's
simply
just they're
because
incredible.
I mean, simply you want to go back to it simply because it's got Band of Brothers in the Pacific.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to watch, and I'm craving World War II. Yep. Well. Day of Days, here we go. You know, like that's there we go. That's Curry. Here we go.
All right, so Institute coming in a month, pretty much. Oh yeah, month minus a day. It actually looks good to me.
No, I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah, I think
I'm just being a shit.
The only thing I'll complain about is
Okay.
what the fuck? Why do streamers all have that weird look to them? This just looks like a streaming show to
Yeah.
me. And it's like, I don't know what it is. Like,
Dude,
Welcome to Derry.
I'll tell you what.
Welcome to Derry
right
doesn't
now.
have that. Welcome to Derry looks like something that I would see in a movie theater.
Yep.
Why and it's weird because it's not full on like 90s, like what this Stand miniseries
Mm-hmm.
looks like. Like you look at that, it's like, oh, it looks like 90s TV. It all looks just bright and like oversaturated.
I'll tell you what it is. It feels like a Stranger Things ripoff, and I guarantee you that's what a lot of people are going to say.
Maybe.
This feels like a Stranger
No,
Things ripoff.
I-
Gifted kids in a lab. What the fuck is this? It's going to be like, yeah, I get where you're coming from.
And
The story predates
yeah.
Stranger Things. That again, it's going to be another one of those and everything like
I'm
that.
only
But I think that's what it comes
no,
down to.
it's not even. I'm complaining about literally the cinematography.
Oh, okay.
It just looks bright. It looks clean, and I guess the Institute should kind of look clean. But like the cinematography, it just something about
I
it.
think the Institute's not a horror though. It doesn't need to be dark.
No, but
Welcome to Derry is going to be a horror series.
It's not dark. I guess it's kind of like what bad digital looks like versus what film looked like. Like look at these two pictures on the screen right now.
Yeah.
Like there's just like the Welcome to Derry one that looks like it was shot on film, even though I know it was probably shot on digital. But they made it, and it isn't even just about tone where it's like, oh, it's a horror. It needs to look like whatever. Like you see like movies that aren't horror that were shot digitally that they put filters on to where it looks has that warmth that like that like film camera or film stuff has. Like the Institute, it just looks like a streaming thing. Like Man in the High Castle was like that. There was just something about it that no matter how much production they put into it, there was something about the way it was shot that just looked like a streaming show. Even though there was like incredible costumes, there were sets,
amazing CGI shots of like the Japanese fleet pulling out of San Francisco.
100%. But there was just the cinematography of it just felt like streaming. I don't know. I don't know how else to say it, but I would say that'd be my only complaint. I will say the synopsis thing said 12-year-old, but I thought they were aging him up, and I will say this kid looks nothing like a 12-year-old. He looks like 15 to me.
Yeah, he's aged up. Agamorphy says it in the chat. I wish the kids were aged like the book. I think it's just a little bit hard.
Oh, maybe the article I was recapping the book and said 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Whatever his name was, because I was like, I saw that and then I clicked the video and I started watching. I'm like, 12? So maybe they just fucked the article up. Okay, they did age him up. We did cover that though, right? They aged him up to like more 15, 16-year-old.
We were pretty sure that they were going to do that when they announced it. It's like,
yeah.
It's always hard when you have a show and you're going to do pre-teens, basically. So, Robert says I'm going to check out Institute after a show. This picture Institute looks AI,
and that's maybe a good.
That's what it is for you.
No, because AI's come out since, because this has been a problem for a long time.
Yeah.
And streaming and digital has always there's better ones that have gotten away from it, but there's just like I said, it's hard to put your finger on, but it just looks like streaming.
I'll tell you right
now,
and
AI looks like what I'm saying. Like when you see an AI image, that's what streaming looks like, and not that it's using AI. But
I'll tell you right now, you listening to you talk about this whole thing with like the streaming versus like this is good enough to be in a theater kind of thing. I think the biggest example for me is the Disney Plus stuff for MCU. That very obviously looks like a streaming show.
Yeah.
Captain America, Falcon
and
the Winter Soldier.
WandaVision looked good.
WandaVision looked different, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like, because they were trying to look like older television shows, so they already had that stuff put on there. But if you look at the shots of WandaVision in like the trailer where it's like the stuff outside of the town, it very much looks like a streaming show.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Secret Invasion. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
All of that stuff looks like streaming shows.
Yeah.
They don't look like MCU
Yeah.
proper movie products. I know what you're talking
and
about.
I'll say that, like, Stranger Things has always done a good job. That's always looked like
Looks like a movie.
Looks great. It looks
Yeah.
like a movie. And going back to the early seasons, I know they've ramped their game up as they've gone, but like even in
Yeah.
the earliest seasons, when you watch that, it just looked like you were watching something that we would have watched, back in the 90s. Like it
Yeah.
just looked like, and it's just a pet peeve I have, and that's the one complaint I have from the trailer is it has that like sheen of like a streamer, but overall it looks good. Did you recognize 6B? Do you reckon? I mean, she's kind of famous for a lot now, but I always recognize her. I always think of her because she's Will Graham's wife in Red Dragon.
Oh, is she the director?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it 6B? Right? Is the name of the
Mrs. Sigsbee.
Yeah,
Sigsbee.
but I always think of her from Red Dragon. I think she's been in some like pretty well loved shit in the last like 5 or 6 years.
I knew she looked familiar. Me and my wife were both like, God, she looks familiar.
Yeah. She's Will Graham's wife in Red Dragon from
Okay.
02, I think. This looks
Good
great.
Lord, that was a long time ago.
Some of the like the one shot of the shit getting lifted up was fucking cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't remember that from the book. If that was in the book, I've completely forgotten, or they've added that.
I don't remember much about the book. I do. Okay, so here's my take about the Institute. I'll just leave this and let you go because this is the only thing I really have to say about this. I'm gonna watch it. It's a
Yeah.
Stephen King adaptation. I'm obviously there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, take my King card. You know.
Yeah.
Although, if anyone ever remakes Firestarter, I'm going to be very hesitant from now on with that one. I'm traumatized from that one.
The magic of it, judo chop kill.
Judo chop kill still there.
Got to have that in a third adaptation if we ever do it. So
Absolutely. But I was going into this, and I my overall excitement, if it's 10, my Welcome to Derry excitement is a 10. I'm so fucking stoked for that because it's it.
It's it. Yeah.
It's it. You know how I feel about it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. How I would feel if the Dark Tower series was announced that it's coming out in 2027. 10. It would be a 10.
No, that's an 11.
It's a 19. But the Institute, I was kind of just like, yeah, this is like a 5 or a 6. Like I'm there.
Yeah.
But I think it's just because that we read that book back to back. We did that Unfound Door episode on it way too soon.
Yeah.
We learned our lesson from that. That's why
Yeah.
Never Flinch is coming out next month for our Patreon hangout.
Yeah.
Instead of this month and everything. But I think what did it for me, the Institute, there is this point in the trailer where my excitement jumped from a 5 or a 6 to a 8 or a 9. It's the line where he asks her, because this is the one part of the story that I remember. He asks her, are my parents aware of where I am, or are they even alive? And she says, yeah, they're fine. We're not monsters. And I'm like, if they killed the parents in the first episode
first scene, maybe.
first scene in the book,
Yeah.
first scene in the book, I remember,
Yeah.
dude, it burned its way into my memory.
Yeah.
They murder his parents and kidnap him instantly. That's
Yeah.
the start of the book. It caught me so off guard for Stephen King.
Yeah.
If they do that in this series, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in because that sets the tone for the Institute. That is the premise for the whole thing is that he knows that he can't trust her.
Because, like, storytelling wise, that's such an effective thing too. Because, like, there is an aspect of the parents are still alive. Like, there's a part of you as a reader.
There's the hope.
You could believe that there's a happily ever after.
There's a hope.
Yeah.
You have hope.
But like when you see
But
them
when
get
you know
iced,
that they're dead.
yeah, like there's that. Like then that's gone.
And he's hoping. It's false hope. And you're like, you son of a bitch. Look what you're doing to my boy.
Yeah, it is. It's genius. King was a genius with it for sure.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. It's probably less so than Welcome to Derry. I think if nothing else, it's just the HBO thing.
Yeah.
There's an extra shine that's going to come with an HBO product. Everything they ever do, it seems like, is just fucking genius.
Yeah.
So it's just like they're top shelf, and they've been that way for 30 years now, at
Since
least.
The Sopranos.
Yeah, I mean, easily since then. I mean, there was some stuff even predated that there was insanely good. So it's like HBO, just that's a stamp of quality that
That's
like
the creme de la creme.
that's something that nobody else has. So anything that's on there, if this were flipped and Welcome to Derry were on Amazon and Institute was on HBO, it would probably be flipped for me. I'd be more excited for the Institute because it's like It's HBO. We
Yeah.
saw The Outsider. We've seen some great shit from them. So
Yeah.
I am pretty excited by it. Yeah, it's been a bit now. Was that a couple years ago that book came out? So where was The Institute? Because we read that twice in 1 year. 2019. I thought it
Yeah.
was 2019. Jesus Christ, that was that long ago.
Yeah, and we haven't. Neither of us have read it since.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited for it. It was a great story. I can't
Yeah.
wait to see the escape, but it almost looks like there might be more of an uprising than just a straight up full on escape. Like, I don't know. I'm excited for it. It's a really cool story.
Yeah.
And I can't also wait to see
I don't remember the character who's like sniffing around, like the guy character with like the little bit longer hair.
the goon.
Where they're like, no, there's two different characters. So there's a doctor who looks like a goon, and then there's a guy who like comes to the gate, and there's an older woman like, hey, don't go sniffing around the medical research place. And he's like, why? And he's that guy. He seems like he's a good guy. He's not
Yeah.
the doctor. So it's like,
Is it the sheriff?
I don't remember him at all.
Is it the sheriff from the town?
I don't know. I don't see again. I don't
Yeah.
remember. So the one thing I will have to say about the Institute that kind of curbed my excitement is when I saw that it was on MGM Plus. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I've never even had a subscription to that. Now I got to figure that out.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that is a cheaper one where it's like, like, I don't know, $4 or $5 or something like that. And it's one of those things you just subscribe for like, what will it take, a month to get that series probably? So you
Plus
probably,
the 7-day free trial,
Yeah, for sure.
Got to get your free trial in.
Yeah, indeed. So I'm,
$6.99 ad free, cancel anytime.
yeah. So, and that's just Amazon's con because Prime has all the other benefits. So I feel like the Prime Video is just like an added benefit. So MGM Plus is just their way of making sure
Yeah.
that you're paying a little bit extra for those products because they're going to put a lot more money and time and effort into them, I think.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited for both for sure. July 13th, that's not like I said, that's a month minus a day away. Today's the 14th of June. So, coming up pretty quick.
God, Jesus.
Can't wait for
I
that.
went to their website. I was like, "What's live TV? What do they have on live TV?" And live channels playing right now. Looper next, Smile 2, and it's fucking Jack Nicholson's kid. Smile.
I still need to watch that actually.
Ah!
So before we wrap up, I do still have Uncle Stevie recommends. We got the first one. He has a post. He says, "Our hero Balazar. I love this movie. Felt like it was a real bolt of indie lightning. Stars Jaden Martell. It made me think of Mean Streets, the classic De Niro movie. I'm wondering if he went and saw this because of Jaden Martell, which is obviously of It." One of the
Alumni.
It kids, It alumni. Let's see. In the next one, his post said, "I saw a wonderfully gruesome horror movie called Bring Her Back this afternoon. Thoughtful, textured, and
Hey.
scary as hell. Very, very gruesome. I will say that. It is. Hayden almost threw up a couple times. He almost walked out a couple times.
Yep.
Very, very gruesome movie, but it was a very well done movie too. Then his last one here, Your Friends and Neighbors, Apple Plus, Deliriously Nasty. It's like John D. McDonald novel from 1962 with a lot more sex and no good guy. Enjoyable. So
Yeah.
those are the Uncle Stevie recommends.
Jaden Martell is Stuttering Bill.
Yeah. No, yeah, I knew that.
Oh, okay.
And then he
I
was,
couldn't remember which one he was.
then
And
he was
he's
also in
Mr. Harrigan's Phone.
Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Yeah, indeed. So, and then Robert says, and at the end of this show, tangent section, Spaceballs 2 trailer just dropped. Yeah, indeed. Finally, it's happened. We're going to be talking about that on the next show
Yeah,
for sure.
don't forget Geekery Abides. That's where we talk about stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And then let's go ahead and hit the outro stuff real quick. That is pretty much where we are at. Is the end of the episode. So let's go ahead and let you know that if you want to find us, you can find us on Apple Podcasting, stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or any podcasting service of your choice. You can find us over here live on YouTube at youtube.com/DarkTowerPalaver. Be part of the chat like everyone in the chat here did. Hayden, Agamorphy, Robert, Carol. We've had a lot of people involved in the episode today. Spencer chimed in as well. If you want to be part of the live chats, you can do that over here. On the YouTube side.
Some guy named Peter.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. You can find the show notes over at darktowerpalaver.com. All the articles we covered today, if you want to read them in their entirety, you can find them. I'll link them over there. If you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And then if you want to contact us, Peter can let you know the ways to do that.
Email us at show@darktowerpalaver.com. And then our social medias, we have Threads and Instagram. It's Dark Tower Palaver, all one word. And then at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social is our Blue Sky account. And then our Twitter is at darktowerpod. That's at darktowerpod. Facebook.com/darktowerpalaver to find us there. And then check out our merchandise, tpublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver.
Indeed. And we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
Oi.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you all for joining us. Thanks for being part of the conversation and part of the shenanigans and tomfoolery. We'll see you on the other side for Geekery Abides if you're joining us there. If not, we'll be back in a fortnight for our next Wizard and Glass book club.
Yeah.
So until then, long days and pleasant nights.
Bye, everyone.